Discovery, go at throttle up. Discovery, go and throttle up.
You're listening to K154, and it's currently 22 past the hour here on the East Coast of the United States. 4:22 to be precise. Isn't that right, Mr. Scream? Great. This is K154, the home of all rock and roll here, such as this classic here. Here we go. Great. All right. Are we ready? What keyboard do you have? I have a DOS Keyboard Professional. All right. Let me just get all the links organized here, and then we will get ready to go. All right. Should be ready to go here. Dude, the delay is like terrible. Hold on, let me switch headphones. I have a direct line in on the amplifier, so there's no possibility of overload. Do we know what keyboard EJ uses? It's really echoey. Hold on. You recognize this? It's a Squire Stratocaster, Murado. I don't remember the 60s. That song's from the 70s. Part's so hard, dude. Oh man, I'm rusty. Hold on. And then it goes. Oh, shut up, Sneaky. Get down today. You want to take you away. Get down tonight. Well, all right. I love that song, man. That's my favorite Boston. Actually, no. Foreplay Long Time is better. That's a better song. Here, one more, and then we'll start. Here, I've played this a couple of times on stream before, but all right, ready? You guys will like this one. Oh, I screwed up. Oh, I screwed up. That's right, Navstar. This one. Nobody's fault but mine. That's right. Yeah, you guys got it. You guys got it. No? Nobody on that one? Alright. Means I gotta get better. That's what that means. Here. I got another one. Last one. The low E is out of tune. That's good enough. I can't play that, dude. I gotta tune the guitar, and I don't feel like doing that right now. I'd rather stop because it sounds like poop. Poop! Got the ability to shred. Yeah, it is what it is, dude. It is what it be, so it do. You mean Judith? Yeah, that's right, man. Shaking my head, my head. What can I say, man? You perpetrated this. What's your take on the Chinese rocket fall and debris issue? It's unacceptable. It's the 21st century. We're landing stages over here. What the hell are you guys doing? You don't even know how to land. You don't even know how to re-enter them correctly. Breaking the law, breaking the law. I should learn how to play that. Alright, so I got most of the space news here. I'll put all the SpaceX stuff together. How about we start the space news today with a nice vidya? Here, how about we start with a nice vidya coming from our buddies over at ULA?
9,
Yes, sir.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
We have starboard engine ignition,
1.
core and port engine ignition. All engine parameters look good.
That's a good song, Nev.
Vehicle has clear power. Vehicle has now begun the pitch over maneuver.
Hey, see ya.
Engine parameters look good on all three cores.
The 1.12 preview in that list? Yeah, should be. I really appreciate what you're showing me right now.
Core booster is now throttling down to the partial thrust level. Partial thrust achieved. Now, 50 seconds into flight, vehicle is 3 miles in altitude, 5 miles downrange distance, traveling at 970 miles per hour.
Delta doesn't do a roll program, it just kind of goes.
All vehicle systems look good at this time.
It's just kind of like, nah, I'm good.
Now, at T plus 80 seconds, vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. Vehicle is now supersonic.
The hair suits you? Thank you.
All three RS-68 looks healthy at this time.
There's Lompoc over there.
Vehicle
See
systems
Lompoc
continue to
on the
be
left?
healthy.
That's Lompoc, California right there.
The second stage reaction control system pressurization valve has now opened.
It's just the
Now, 125 seconds into flight, Delta is now 18 miles in altitude, 9 miles downrange distance, traveling at 1,800 miles per hour.
Oh, God, these units, I understand. It's so nice. It's so nice. Oh.
Delta has now gone to closed loop guidance. Vehicle body rates are nominal.
Yo, you getting a little vertigo yet? Hey, Horizon, thank you for the raid. I got the
3
Gibbs.
minutes remain in the booster phase of flight.
I like Gibbs. Gibbs is a
Delta
great
4 rocket
character.
now weighs just 1/2 of what it did at liftoff, burning propellant at a rate of almost 5,000 pounds per second.
It's just
1 minute until port and starboard booster engine cutoff.
It's just Monterey Bay right there. You can see all of Monterey Bay. How's that? That's pretty good. Hey, Lone Mines raid. Horizon side, thank you for the raid. Bill, what was Horizon up to today?
Vehicle systems look healthy at this time.
Snacky!
Autopilot has controlled all vehicle body rates.
Snacky!
In year 0.
There were 4 poisons in the Roman Empire days. Poisons 1, 2, and 3 all killed you, but poison 4 made you really itchy.
Approximately 30 seconds remaining now until the port and starboard booster engines cut off.
Poison IV. Nope, nope, you don't get to see the booster cut off. Nope, nope, you don't get to see that now. Gibbs is my favorite character from that show, Thor.
Strap-on boosters are now throttling down to the partial thrust level.
You don't get to see it now. It's just for me. I'm the only one that gets to watch it. Sorry.
Strap-on booster cutoff. And separation of the strap-on booster.
Oh, that's so legit.
Core booster is now throttling back up.
That's nice. That's nice. All right, there you go. Sharing is caring. All right, Kyle, just because it's you.
Back up. Strap-on booster cutoff. And separation of the strap-on booster.
Oh, that's so legit, dude.
Core
Come
booster is
back,
now
Delta.
throttling back up.
Please, come back. Don't die. Oh. Yo, that radial outburn,
Core
though.
booster is operating as
Holy
expected at the 100%
crap.
throttle level.
Okay. Sun synchronous, dude. You can see the coast of California right there.
The upper stage lock system has now begun the boost phase chill down sequence to begin thermal conditioning of the all-10 engine. 1 minute remaining in the booster phase of flight.
Okay, no, there isn't. Now there's 2
Core
seconds.
booster is now throttling down.
Please. Watch
We
this.
have BECO. First stage main engine cutoff.
Watch, ready? Pop.
We have stage separation. NED's deployment has begun.
Nozzle extension. No, 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 no. Dude, no, 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 no. No, you gotta show us the whole thing.
We have stage separation. NED's deployment has begun.
No, no, no. Tori! Stop that. Stop this nonsense. RL-10B2s. Look at the nozzle extender. Isn't that cool? It's on a pinion. There's 3 pinions that just, they spin and then that lowers the nozzle down. That's so freaking cool. I wish we could see the whole dang thing. What does a sun synchronous orbit look like? A highly inclined retrograde orbit. Sun synchronous orbits are useful if you want to image the same spot at the same time every day. That's what they're used for. So the spy satellites that you see in Enemy of the State, stuff like that, yeah, that's sun synchronous. I wish we had that in KSP, yeah. So that was the the L-82 rocket cam. So that was a Delta IV Heavy that we saw go out of Vandenberg the other day. Great launch. 100% successful mission as far as I understand. The mullet, no. Yeah, I know, man, I know. Shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have listened to you. Chat. I don't know what that means, Thomas. We said no. I shouldn't have listened. I shouldn't have listened. I should have gone with my double down, man. Told you last night after the raid you should have kept it. This is cool though. I don't mind this. You let chat bully you. I said I would, Grav Shark. That's the thing. I said I would. So, kind of stuck. I ain't getting it back, that's for sure. Well, it's gonna take about a year. That was a year of growing, to be honest. Yeah, it's gonna be a little while. So the key is, what do we bet on next? I mean, the running thing would be like Starship Orbital, but Starship Orbital is not. That's gonna happen very soon. An orbital landing, go to the moon till the moon. That's gonna be a while. Go till lunar. Oof. That's too far out, man. We need an interim deadline. How about like Artemis 2 or something? How about like people around the moon? Not the landing, though. We just wanted the mullet gone. We didn't ask for a Kalu haircut. No, the deal was crew cut, man. I look like I'm going to boot camp. Jeez, man. When Starship leaves Leo? Oy. How about you just cut your hair when you want to? Alright, whatever. You see, you keep saying that, but you were one of the perpetrators. You were one of the perpetrators of the anti-mullet movement, Remo. You were one of the perpetrators of the anti-mullet movement. So, fine. We can have it your way. I'll cut it whenever I want to. Bring back the mullet. Long live the mullet. That's right. Channel your inner Tory Bruno. How much car wrenching skill did you lose with this hair? Well, yeah. Yeah, the AMM. Primo's part of the anti-mullet movement. Persecuting mullets worldwide. It's not okay. It's not okay at all. It's not right. But dude, it does look good though. Like, I will say, this looks dope. I've never done like full crew cut like this before, dudes. Well, there was that one time where I let a drill instructor cut my hair. That was bad, but that was totally gone. I never done this before. This is nice. I actually kind of dig it. It's pretty cool. You mean all four of you? Hey, mullets are the best, man. All right. Alright? You just wish. Alright? You're just jealous of the sways, okay? Look at the sways. Okay? You're just jelly. Your hair could never be like that. So you learn to never trust a drill instructor with a trimmer. Yeah, that was a bad idea. Yeah, that was in fact a mistake. I'm glad my hair would never look like that. Shame. Has a mullet ever been into space? I don't know. Now I want to... Hang on. Now I want to go looking around. Anybody ever fly with a mullet? Mary kind of has one. She kind of has a mullet. That's close. All right, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. Any mullets? No. Hey, Wubbo. Wubbo has the killer mustache, though. Nope, no mullets. Any mullets? Nope. mustaches are prime, though. That guy almost has one. It's close. That's Story Musgrave in the center right there. Another good mustache. See? Almost mullet. There, that's close enough. That's close enough. Shannon almost had... That's close enough, dude. It's close enough. Shannon Lucid. That's good enough. Good enough for me. Probably not the dudes. Most are all military. Yeah. TK Mattingly, Lord Schreiber, Ellison Onozuka. Cool. Ah, yes. Your co-pilot. Seems like you had a nice lady's haircut by research. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, Catherine Sullivan. There you go. Right there. Pretty... And Sally Ride. Yeah, Sally Ride has a mullet. That's pretty dope. Yeah, that's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. Judy Resnick's hair is on point in that picture. Crip. Ah. Yep. Crip. That's Dick Scobie over there. Pinky. That's George Nelson, dude. I've talked to him. He's the guy that wrangled the satellite. That dude right there. Yeah, that's a pretty dope mission. That was the LDEF, STS-41C, LDEF deploy. Yeah, long duration exposure facility over Florida. Look at that. That's a pretty cool picture. Have you heard of spin launch? Yeah. These are not the mullets you're looking for. Hey, whatever. Whatever, dude. Whatever. 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 Let's get back to space news. Soichi Noguchi, you also flew on STS-114 and Soyuz TMA-17 compared to landings. All right, what do we got?
Question is hard to compare. Of course, for the impact-wise, the shuttle is hard to beat. My case is Colonel Eileen Collins' kiss landing, and it's very soft, but the people tend to forget that after the main wheel touchdown, we have a pretty slamming motion of the nose wheel touchdown. So that's actually not trivial. Soyuz, of course, it's like a crash into the ground. For this one, I would say it's very benign and almost a touchdown. So I really like it, and impact was very, very minimal. And right after splashdown, we feel the wave motion. That is, yeah, we have come back to Earth, yeah, the water planet. And this is exactly as forecasted, like a 5-second period, and I feel it. So that's a great feeling, which we don't have for the 167 days.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Okay, we have.
That's awesome. Hey, Vasi, do you have those videos? I didn't get the chance to click on them, but here, let's keep going. So, Hughes and OneWeb get a U.S. Air Force contract for Arctic broadband. All right, what do we got? The Air Force Research Laboratory has conducted, and this article is coming from Jason Rainbow over at Space News. The U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory has conducted low Earth orbit broadband venture OneWeb to demo managed SATCOM services in strategic Arctic locations. Project Prime contractor Hughes Network Systems, a OneWeb investor supplying parts for its ground segment, will test the services between the U.S. Northern Command sites. Spasiba. Okay, so we had NROL. We had the NROL one. What's this one? Oh, that's Blorgen. Got it. Oh, the NSF SN15 footage. Word. And the Kerbal stuff. Cool. All right, I had most of those. I just wanted to make sure. What is this? All right. One lands on the ground with rockets, another one on water. It's like apples and oranges. So it is just like crashing into the ground. I mean, it's not wrong. Alright. So, it looks like they're... OneWeb get the U.S. Air Force contract. Interesting. OneWeb satellites are in polar orbits, and Brad told Space News in March that gives the company advantage for Arctic regions of growing geopolitical interest. Okay. Currently only Iridium boasts potable SATCOM coverage. Starlink got like 150 million from the DoD. OneWeb got like 5. In December of 2018, SpaceX secured a 3-year, $28 million contract under the Douchy program? Defense experimentation using the commercial space internet. Douchy? Douchy? Can I just call it Douchy just because? Please? I don't know what you're talking about, Jim. I don't recall us ever doing that. We don't spy on people. That would be immoral. Am I right, bro? Never have, never will. Yep. We just inspect. The U-2 was a tourist plane. We wanted to see the sights. And the SR-71 was just nothing more than I want to go fast. Bro, does this thing use T-Tab or what? The flames are pretty damn green. Yeah, that's right. It's just like, you know, the Russians don't spy as well. They inspect things. It's very... We don't spy. We don't do that. We're not heathens. Okay? The Russians, they inspect stuff, and we just want to go fast over here. Does the U.S. have any borders with the Arctic region? Does Alaska count, Kim? Like, Alaska? I mean, Alaska technically, I guess? Yeah. I mean, alright, Kim, okay. Alright, look. Mira, that doesn't mean anything to you, okay? I mean, look, like, okay, I know Canada is another country, I understand, but there's all kinds of defense nets up in here, just like you guys have defense stuff, like, all throughout here, for obvious reasons. There's all kind of early warning and defense stuff up here, well, I don't think I need to say why. And even though the Canadians are a sovereign country, there's a lot of NATO defenses in here. And then there's also up here. Yeah. That's not water. Yeah, that's, see all that up there? That ain't water. Yeah, Prudhoe Bay. Yeah. Yeah, that ain't water, homie. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's scaled down a lot since 1991. There used to be like a defense net up here. But yeah, I mean, I guess this counts because Prudhoe Bay is where oil is, and that's definitely into the Arctic Circle. I have some link. Do you have space for them? Yeah, sure. Talking about Prudhoe Bay. The hope for a gap in Arctic coverage that OneWeb's bankruptcy could leave or not is why SpaceX have already filed for a Starlink gateway in Prudhoe Bay. Yep, see. Yeah, okay, Kem. Should I make brownies? Go ahead. Kem, that's what it's for. It's for Prudhoe Bay because there's oil up there. Yeah, let's not even pretend like that's not the reason. There's oil, man. Just like there's oil up in here. But yeah, there's actually some cool stuff up in Canada. There's like huge Fallout style bunkers and stuff up in northern Canada and stuff. I forget the name of them. If it's not water, what is it? Oil. It's water mixed with oil, guys, but look at the colors. Guys, this is all oil up here. This is huge oil reserves up there in Alaska, like more than Texas, which is nuts, considering that Texas is. There's oil between San Antonio and Houston. There's an oil deposit there that's like they don't tap it for obvious reasons, but there's a ton of it down here. Like, I don't think it's as much as the Middle East, but it's definitely up there. And then the oil goes all the way up here. You could get up here, up to a little bit. And then there's Alberta in Canada, which is... Alberta has a lot of oil. Yeah. A lot. There's tons of it up here. Yeah, the Northern Warning System. Yeah, the Black Sands. Fracking, though. We could get at it without fracking, but yeah. Anyway. Yeah, there's the Northern Warning System and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, that's pretty neat. So the Air Force is going... They're going after OneWeb because OneWeb is covering a part that they can't get at with what I would assume is Starlink. And also, the Air Force probably wants redundant dissimilar satellite systems. So if you try to take Starlink out, they'll just use OneWeb. You try to take OneWeb out, they'll just use Starlink. Or at least I think that's the plan. Middle East is one big oil barrel. Good for them. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, man. I mean, yeah, they freaking sitting on a freaking gold mine, dude. Must be nice, bro. Alright, so check this out. A little bit of interesting news on the Falcon 9 front, if you want. Make Jim bigger. He deserves it. I mean, there's GPS before TDRS green. I think TDRS is a last resort, but yeah. First rule of government spending. Why have one when you can have two at twice the cost? Make Jim big again. I see what you did there. I mean, yeah, staples for sure, but see, that's always been my thing, dude. The government has the ability to spur a market, just like what they're doing with low Earth orbit, just like what they did with the airline industry, just like what they did with the train industry. And then I don't think I need to say what the national highway system did for the automobile over here. Entire cities are designed around the automobile. See what I'm saying? There's the ability to do that. And whether you like it or not, there's defense spending that ends up trickling down to the civilian market. Just like, you know, you have global positioning on your phone or satellite navigation on your car. Or, oh, I don't know, the internet. The internet's a pretty good example of that. So, you know, in this particular case, dude, if that means having more internet satellite constellations
Discovery.
and they
No
prop them
throttle.
up so they could get up on their feet, and so like Starlink and OneWeb can get up on their feet, and then they can start competing with each other. That nets us a lesser price, and Uncle Sam kind of foots the bill. I mean, we kind of foot the bill. I get it because of tax dollars, but hey, that's fine. Yeah, I don't mind them kicking off new markets for commercialization. I don't have a problem with that. That's pretty good. I wish we would do that more, you know? Why can't we have world peace? Astral 27-month resub. Humans are imperfect, Phase. I hate to be the one to break it to you. Humans are imperfect. Bro, you could have a free lunch and someone would complain about it nowadays. I mean, that's not nowadays. That's just the human condition. I mean, Phase, think about it, dude. You ever... Phase, you... Like, okay. I can't even be sure with people on Twitch anymore. There was a time where I could just assume that everybody on Twitch played video games. But hey, nice cut. Thanks, Tyrix. Look pretty sharp, huh? All right, Phase, do you play video games? If so, what games do you play? Just that, like, asking out of curiosity. Yeah, Kim, that's damn right. I mean, 2020, I don't have a problem with that, man. I'll be honest with you. I mean, Jam, there's always that. Yeah, I play YouTube. No lunches for free. Grimbo, well, yeah, obviously, that's not really the point of what I'm getting at, but yeah, duh. It's just like spaceflight. Even with a reused booster, you ain't launching it for free. You know what I mean? And that actually will I'll segue into something else there. Tim Berners-Lee, a British scientist at CERN, invented the World Wide Web in 1989. Yeah, but yeah, Buster, every time I said there's the internet and is byproduct of defense spending, somebody brings up, well, the British were actually the first ones to invent it. Okay. Yeah, you're right. But also, the DARPANET was the first implementation of said technology. And without the DARPANET, there would be no modern internet as we know it. I mean, yeah, great, you invented it. Good. The Germans invented the automobile. But Henry Ford is the one that put that stuff to market, man. And Chevrolet. Or Will Durant, if you want to be technical, right? See what I mean? Like, there's inventing a technology and then there's implementing it, right? Like, George Stephenson invented the train, right? But the Transcontinental Railroad, and the Brits actually made a huge railroad system. That was a super big deal in the 1800s. Anyway, Phase, like Minecraft, Warzone, Stormworks, stuff like that. Okay, you ever play Minecraft? You ever play Minecraft and have two people in the server like squabble over resources or something? Somebody will always find something wrong somewhere because humans inherently focus on the bad, okay? You ever heard the phrase, don't compare your behind the scenes to someone's highlight reel? You ever heard that phrase before? Like, dudes, look, I'm generally pretty happy all the time except when I killed Jeb. That really pissed me off. But you ever you see influencers out there, you see other streamers, they're always happy all the time. Does that mean that they have the perfect life? No. No, man. No, we're imperfect, dude. We're imperfect. I mean, evolution is not perfect, but it's pretty dang close. I mean, this is a pretty good piece of equipment right here. I like this piece of equipment. It's nice. You know? Yeah, I'm sure it's out there, Boris, but we're inherently tribal and imperfect, dude. That's just kind of how it is. I don't think world peace would be achieved unless we have some existential threat. Meaning that we all rally against something, right? Now, Face, here. This is where I'm really going to blow your mind. What do you think? I know that there's an existential threat out there. What do you think that is? Space, baby. Space, and this is why I think we need to go out into space more, dude. Space is the perfect place for humanity to thrive. Up there. Think about it, man. We like to go and we like to explore and we like to suffer. It's a weird, like, masochism or something, you know? Like, think about, like, in the U.S., all right? In the U.S., like, there's this thing called Manifest Destiny, and we wanted to make one country from coast to coast, right? That was the mentality. So people would go and they would try to cross. Like, if you ever played Oregon Trail, like, you'd leave a cushy life on the East Coast of the U.S. to try and find some opportunity out there for, like, gold or whatever. We like the strife, dude. I've noticed that with humans. We like the stress. It's weird, man. It's a weird thing, but we do. Like, you know, and whether you want to look at Manifest Destiny ethically, like with modern ethics or not, I don't know. That's another thing. I mean, some questionable stuff was done, that's for sure. But that's looking at it through modern ethics. You know what I mean? And ethics changes over time, and hopefully we get better at it, right? So I can't think of a better place to test the human condition and use that imperfection to our advantage than going into space. Seriously. It's a great way it's a great way for us to solve that problem of imperfection. Not solve it, but it's a good way we got to get out there, man. Humans, like I said, we evolved over millions of years to become the apex predator on this planet, all right? We're built to be freaking tough, man. We're built to be tough, and we're built to overcome and improvise and adapt. That's like humans at a genetic level, right? We fought over millions of years to, basically invent civilization, right? That's what we're built for. That's what we do. We evolved in those conditions. It didn't get into like stable non-nomadic humanity until like maybe like 6,000-7,000 years ago, meaning that humans were nomadic and we roamed around like buffalo almost, right? And then we started settling down and we invented writing systems. And you see what I mean? Like, you trade one thing for another. And then the Greeks came up with, democracy and stuff after that. It spirals out of control. Like, and now spirals out of control in a good way. Now we have civilization as we know it. We could, I truly think if we want to take this to the next level, if we really want to take it to the next level, we got to go to freaking Mars or something, or we got to build O'Neill cylinders or Dyson spheres or something. Because guess what? Every time stuff has gotten stagnant in human history, wars start. Like, that's the reality of that situation. If we aren't fighting against something, we're going to be fighting against ourselves, because that's what we do, because we're just a bunch of freaking monkeys floating around on a planet, you know what I mean? Hurling through the vacuum of space. Like, that's just how that works, man. We're imperfect. And I think space is the perfect thing for humans, because space is trying to kill you at every living moment. It's a perfect place for humanity to thrive. Just an opinion, though. That, and we can't stay here forever. I get it. The sun isn't going to go white dwarf on us for like billions of years, but there's always the threat of asteroids. There's always the threat of this. There's always the threat of that. I mean, even if asteroids aren't really even if you don't consider asteroids a threat, I mean, a big enough asteroid hitting us right now, you want climate change? That's a good way to do it. Real fast. Real quick. I'm pretty sure we don't want that. So there's always that. But also, here's the real thing, okay? There's REM on this planet, rare earth metals, like platinum, chromium, titanium. There's all these resources that we use that are called rare earth metals for a reason. Does that mean that they're rare in other parts of the solar system? Man, hell no. Hell no. Out in the belt, there is so much resources out there, okay, that we're talking about, and Tori Bruno, this guy, talks about this all the time. We're talking about living in a post-resource scarcity. So, what does that mean? On top of, like, asteroid threats and whatnot, if we go and we mine asteroids, yes, I know, everyone's like, Belters? Yeah, Grab Shark, I know you're in here going, huh? What? If we go out and we mine the belt, and a starship would be a great way to do that if we could, we go out and we mine the belt, we don't need to mine on this planet anymore. That would be as stupid as trying to tap an oil well in your backyard rather than going down the street to the oil fields. You know what I mean? We could get to the point where we don't have to worry about that. Mining, I would like to get us to a point where mining an industrial base on this planet makes no sense. Just like, if you're in parts of the West, if you're in Europe, if you're in the United States, I mean, we still have stuff that's manufactured here, but we sent it somewhere else. Like, now, whether that's for better or for worse, I'll let you be the judge on that. I'm not asking for opinions, but you know what I mean? Like, manufacturing stuff here doesn't make sense because you can manufacture it over there for a lot lesser of a price. Now, I understand the ethics involved with that, don't get me wrong, but we could do that out in the belt, and that would mean that mining here would be stupid. Just like I said, it would be like trying to start a pit mine in your backyard, as opposed to actually going to the pit mine because there's more resources over there. We just need the mechanism to get out there, and that's what Elon's trying to do. That's what this guy's trying to get done. I want to live in a world where it does not make sense to manufacture on this planet. It makes no sense. It makes more sense to manufacture in low Earth orbit and then bring it down. That's right, 2020. It sucks we won't see that in our lifetime, though. Corey, do you think that somebody that saw the Wright Flyer flying in 1903 would think that at the end of their lifetime we'd be walking on the moon? Stranger things have happened, man. Yes? Sure. Okay. So, guys, I mean, once again, that's why I'm a huge proponent of reusable spacecraft, man. That's why I think Elon's right on the money, and I agree with him 100% when it comes to making reusable spaceships. That's what we need to do. It's our destiny to go out there. I firmly believe that. We need to go out there. We can't, Earth is our cradle, Earth is our home, but you can't stay in the cradle forever. Yeah, right. Yeah, or Konstantin Tsiolkovsky Green, or Herman Oberth. Yeah, We must invade space. Fragment as, I mean, if you want to put it that way, yeah, absolutely. I don't agree with Tesla, though, because I don't like Elon changing the sound or removing the sound of beautiful cars. Corey, I think that a lot of car folks think about this in the wrong way. Okay, so the first thing is, with electric cars, the first thing is that oil ain't going anywhere. Just because you have an electric car doesn't mean that you won't be able to buy gasoline, okay? Oil is not going anywhere. Diesel fuel is not going anywhere. No way. Diesel drives our economy. That's not going anywhere. You can't replace the energy density of diesel fuel, or gasoline for that matter, at this point in time. And even if, say 90% of the people out there have electric cars, right? Even if, say, 90% of you and I, everybody that owns a car has an electric car, still not going anywhere. We run off petroleum, so you don't need to worry about it. I don't consider electric cars a threat. Okay, that's not a threat. It's not a threat to making gasoline powered cars. Gasoline powered cars ain't gonna go anywhere. Now, with that being said, okay, the automobile, rewind 100 years ago. The automobile replaced the horse and buggy, right? It replaced the horse and carriage, right? Does that mean people don't use horses anymore? No. Do we not race horses? No. The Kentucky Derby happens every year. It just happened the other day. So that tells me that, one, auto racing cars, that ain't going anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. It'll be treated like equus, like horses. So if gasoline isn't going anywhere because electricity is never going to be able to replace the energy density unless we have a bunch of nuclear powered container ships going around, which I don't think we're going to do. And horses are still around 100 years later after they became obsolete as a piece of transport equipment. I'm not worried, man. I'm going to be able to drive my muscle car until I retire. Not worried about that. I ain't worried, man. Neither should you be. The electric car will actually help us. The electric car will actually it'll inadvertently make it cheaper and easier to have fun with a car. Have fun with an internal combustion car. Oil ain't going nowhere. If you have anything that's plastic in your house, anything, oil, spoiler alert, anything mechanical, guess what? The factory, the equipment that builds that stuff, oil. Trust me, man, I'm not worried. That's why I like Tesla. I don't care what Elon's doing. Sure, do it. Make more. You ever see the TV show Vintage Voltage? No. The lumber used to make your house, treated with oil. Yeah, yep. 3D printing future? Guess what? Guess what you needed to manufacture to make PLA and PLA Plus and PET and ABS plastic? Oil. Guys, it ain't going anywhere. Don't worry. Need hydrogen to replace diesel. If we can figure out liquid hydrogen fueling wisp, the oil becomes irrelevant. At least as an energy source. Hydrogen is way better. It's way more efficient as an energy source, just like with rockets. PLA can be corn-based. Still, I mean, it's still oil, but yeah, sure. It's a British garage that takes classic cars and converts them to electric. That's kind of cool, Dan. But, I mean, British cars are supposed to be light. Batteries are not light. But I'm sure they found a way around that. But, see, that's what I mean. Like, oil ain't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Like, and that's even if, like, 90% of the people still use electric cars. Guess what? You just shifted the energy consumption from your car to the grid, which is fine. Still more efficient. That's still more efficient than throwing dinosaur bones in your car and burning it and shooting it out the back. Still better for it. That's still a better thing. Because then you could shift power plants over to nuclear power or wind and solar. And we can achieve a much more sustainable environment. But simultaneously at the same time, that doesn't mean that you have to stop using a gasoline car. That's stupid. British cars plus electricity don't end very well. They've done 2 Ferrari 308s with Tesla motors. That thing probably screams, but weight distribution in that would be a big deal. But anyway. Yeah, no, I mean, Corey, I wouldn't worry, dude. Gasoline cars aren't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Hypothetically, if we figure out miniature fusion, then we win, right? Compact fusion, Panda Man, will be about as big of a game changer as the light bulb. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, the incandescent light bulb is not that big of a deal in itself, but the incandescent light bulb led to, you know, a bunch of other things. You know, that inadvertently led to the first integrated circuit, you know what I mean? Which before that was the transistor, and then before that, you know, you had the light bulb and you had vacuum tubes, right? Which are kind of like a light bulb, right? It'll be about as crazy as that. If we could figure out fusion and then figure out a way to miniaturize fusion, that's like playing Minecraft in creative mode. Because with enough energy, you can take whatever and you can make something out with enough energy. You could take metal, you could take steel, and you could turn it into freaking plastic. I mean, nuclear reactors do this all the time. Nuclear reactors has all kinds of isotopes coming out, like xenon gas. Xenon gas is a byproduct of a reactor. They can turn lead into gold with enough energy. Seriously, this is not like some crazy alchemy. With enough energy, you can add and subtract enough electrons, protons, and neutrons from atoms to change them. That's what matter antimatter replication is based off of in Star Trek. Mr. Fusion powered cars. I mean, Sneaky, if we can figure out a way to do that, to have fusion powered cars, yeah, a hover conversion, yeah, that could happen. Sure, why not? What are you going to do, run out of energy? Cool to see you without a hat. Thank you. If hydrogen ever becomes commonplace, I wouldn't be surprised to see retrofit kits to old cars. Yeah, Kevhawk, sure. Just like people will EV swap cars, will hydrogen swap cars. Dude, that'd be great. Hydrogen gasoline, so to speak. Hydrogen as a fuel source for a car is perfect. You know what the byproduct of the exhaust is? Water. Potable water. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's better than carbon. I want that. Can we have that instead? You know what the funny thing is? A lot of people don't know this. Toyota is not jumping on the electric car craze. They're not. Audi is. Ford, Chevy, Dodge, I don't think understands what an electric car is, but that's another story. Toyota is actually looking to invest in hydrogen tech. They're actually doubling down on hydrogen-powered cars. So Elon with his electric car, shenanigans, not shenanigans, they're good. It's a good thing. It's competition and it's innovation in the industry, which is what I ultimately think is good. Toyota is doubling down on hydrogen cars, and they're putting more money into it because they don't want to do electric cars. They don't think electric cars is a good idea. They want to do hydrogen cars. So through this guy's shenanigans and crap posting on Twitter, we might end up getting hydrogen cars out of this. And you know what that means? You know what that means? That means we will eventually get the M12 LRV. I like to call it the Warthog. I call it the Warthog because M12 LRV is too long to say in conversation, son. Puma. You see these tow hooks? They look like tusks. And what kind of animal has tusks? Didn't I tell you, Chet, stop making up imaginary animals? I can say that with this haircut now. It looks close enough to a Cybertruck. Dude, if Tesla came out and they made Cybertruck look exactly like this, I would buy it instantly. And you know what? There's probably about a couple million more people that would do the exact same thing. What are the dangers, though, with hydrogen cars? Hydrogen's a little more volatile, Kaiser, and it's a little harder to contain, just like with rockets. But, you know what? As I get older, dude, the hard problems to solve don't... You know what? As I get older, all I see is that the hard problems to solve, like making an electric car have 500 miles of range and then mass producing it. Well, I said it. Making an electric car with 500 miles of range, right? Or whatever, how many kilometers that is, like 800 kilometers, whatever. Making an electric car be equivalent to a gasoline car is totally doable, all right? What stops us from doing it is the drive, first and foremost, the drive and cash. Those two. That's it. And I wouldn't even say it's the drive. I'd say it's mostly cash at this point. If you throw enough money at it, it'll work. You can make an economy out of nothing. Look at what's happening with Dogecoin. Like, if you have enough investment money, you have enough seed money, you can make it work. And if you persevere, you could still make it work. This is what I mean, dude. Everybody said that there's no money making reusable rockets. Who's laughing now? SpaceX has launched 16 times this year. 16 times with humans flying once. Okay? And then a Dragon resupply mission, right? Now, see, I know what people are going to say. Well, there's not enough market demand for it. Well, what if you want to build your own internet satellite constellation? Then there's plenty of demand. So you make your own frigging demand. Did anybody need an internet satellite constellation 10 years ago? No. But now we can get that. And that means developing, getting high-speed internet to underserviced areas, man. That's a cash cow, dude. I always say that Starlink, for instance, is not going up against telecom companies. You ever notice, like, Verizon and Comcast and Xfinity or whoever your provider is, they don't care. They don't care about that. Because Starlink isn't direct competition. Because you can't, in areas that have highly developed infrastructure, you can get a fiber optic connection or a high-speed cable connection for way cheaper than you can get Starlink. But out where they don't develop any infrastructure, the underserviced areas, if you can bring high-speed internet to them for the price of an antenna and then that's it. If Starlink captures like 1% of global telecommunications, Elon becomes a trillionaire. A trillionaire with a T. See, that's what I mean. You know, and don't get me wrong, like, Elon Musk had investment money for Tesla and for SpaceX, but that was his money that he spent based off of his hard work at Zip2 and PayPal and X.com, right? Like, if you work hard enough and you bust your tail, dude, you can make something out of nothing. This guy has single-handedly made three markets that were not a thing were not a thing 20 years ago. Internet satellites, reusable rockets, and electric cars. That wasn't a thing. Those three markets right there were not a thing. He's literally crapped three technology markets that are now like one of the most lucrative markets around out of nothing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to turn this into a jerk Elon's chain freaking on stream session here. It's not just him. Walt Disney did the same thing with theme parks. Theme parks weren't a thing before Walt Disney came around. There was an amusement park and a carnival. Walt Disney did theme parks. And before that, Henry Ford crapped the internal combustion engine and the car market out of nothing. Why did you need a car? A horse and buggy does the job. Cars could be way more expensive. But no, you flood the market with enough. Flood the market with enough of it. You build enough of it. The price goes down. Boom. Now you've made a market out of nothing. You see this happen all the time with startup companies. Like, you just make something out of nothing. 500,000 Starlink orders so far. It's crazy, man. He also saved the electric car. I feel like if it wasn't for him, we would still be decades behind. Well, we'd be at least a decade behind, right? Repost. Holy shot. Does Jack have a... Whew. Well, that picture doesn't suck. Von Braun and Korolev made a market for rockets, period. I mean, based off of Goddard's work. Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse, Green. Yeah, of course. Money for nothing. and gets you internet for free. I mean, George Stephenson made the market for the train in the UK. Made a market for the train. Did they need a train? No. Horses were just fine. In fact, the first trains were pulled by horses until Stephenson came up with the steam engine. Well, I don't think he came up with the steam engine. I think he was the first one to put a steam engine on a locomotive and use reciprocating external combustion to drive it down the tracks. So, like, this market for, basically, the market for hydrogen cars, it doesn't seem like there's much right now comparatively to gasoline, but if Toyota's going to, I mean, Toyota has enough money to throw at it, absolutely. They'll throw enough money at it. If you throw enough money at it and you market it right, boom, you can create a new market out of nothing. You can create something out of nothing, and that's what humans are good at. That's what we're good at. Going back to, why we should go out into space. We're good at taking something and making it nothing. We're good at taking something and making it nothing. We're good at that too, but we're also good at taking nothing and turning it into something. Right? Dumb question. Have you ever considered using points for the channel? No, points are too distracting. I'm sure Korolev worked based off of Tsiolkovsky and German tech. Of course, Kem. Yeah, of course he did. Korolev's work was based off of Von Braun's, and what Von Braun did in the States was based off of his work in Germany from, like, I don't know. I mean, Von Braun was making rockets before Mustache Man came in there. He was making them in the 20s, in the late 20s. I mean, he just went out in a field and started making rockets based off of Goddard's work. I mean, he was still making rockets. And then Mustache Man, short Mustache Man, not long Mustache Man, it's a different guy. He found it. He's like, oh, we should use this to bomb people. And he's like, no. All right. And he's like, I wasn't asking. Yeah, that guy was kind of a dick. What about a cryogenic hydrogen car? Next level. Well, I mean, Devious, how else are you gonna use hydrogen? You need liquid hydrogen. Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, it's a little more. I would say it's a little less safe than gasoline, for instance, but with enough insulation inside of a gas tank, you can, I mean, that basically means you need a pressurized tank in your car, which, I mean, guys roll around with nitrous bottles in cars all the time. That's pressurized. That's pressurized. It's not cryogenic, but it's pressurized gas. Contain it at a supercritical state. Yeah, but see, the question at that point, Joe, is 2020 is how the amount of energy that you need to take hydrogen and make it supercritical, and then you put it in a car. Yeah, you have a very efficient car, but what about the energy that you needed to make it? That's the whole point, you know? Yeah, Lego. I mean, short Mustache Man was kind of an idiot. I mean, I'm gonna go with an idiot. Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. He's an idiot. When do you think nuclear fusion will become commercially viable? I don't know, Liam. It's gonna take some time. Fission is fine, believe it or not. Splitting atoms is not as efficient as fusing them. Fusing them releases a ton of energy too, but splitting atoms is good enough. The problem is that the byproducts aren't good for you. Yeah, Sneaky. I mean, the bad should be noted, just like I say about anything regarding that. The bad should be noted, but the good should also be noted. Hey, Fun Sister, what's up? Yeah, Enco. No. That's a story for another day. Wouldn't it be easier to store hydrogen not by storing it, but by keeping it moving in a loop so it doesn't get everywhere and doesn't boil off? I mean, we could have gaseous hydrogen and then put it through a condenser, but what's powering the condenser? And then the condenser to liquid hydrogen and liquid hydrogen to an internal combustion engine that's using liquid hydrogen. That's doable. Why not? ULA has already made that. The ACES stage will run off gaseous hydrogen. Well, not will. We don't know if they're making it. They kind of said they were, but they kind of said they aren't either. So I don't know. What are those little iPad things towards the middle of the aisle? Things that say PYSN on it. Checklists, most likely. This is what Mission Control looked like 15 years ago, dude. So This is ISS mission control. Yeah, it's... I'm not sure exactly what this thing is for, but I'll bet you it's just a checklist. I mean, if you look at ISS mission control, it's funny because there's bookshelves all over the place. You see bookshelves between the aisles and they're all empty because that's where all the paper checklists used to be. Now they just have it on a tablet. Are you ever going to update to one of the more modern mission controls? Sneaky, the problem is that there's no pictures of mission control from this angle that I could find. But anyway, we should get back into space news. Like, here, take a look. I'm sure I could go and find one. Like, there's another picture of mission control right there, but... See, that's old school mission control. That's actually in the exact configuration that it was. But it doesn't look like this anymore. They have the wooden desks. They have the wooden desk with the 4 or 5 monitor setup. That's Star City. That's Russian mission control. That's the Martian mission control. Oh, look. That's the same graphic. See what I mean? There's the graphic that I used. I just found a high-res picture of it. Yeah, see? This is the original graphic that well, actually, mine was a little bit different. And then what I did was I went in and I photoshopped all the people out of it. And then I cropped out the monitors and put it on an alpha channel. So that's how I got the monitors to animate. I cropped out all of this other stuff right here. 1960s mission control is the best. Yeah, but there's no good angles from it. I can't put myself in front of this because it looks like we're standing here. That's the restored mission control. This is what mission control looked like during Apollo 11. They restored this mission control room for the Apollo missions into the state that it was in the 1960s for the... They restored it to 1969 configuration for the 50th anniversary of Apollo, which is cool. And all the consoles work and stuff, which is pretty rad. They did that a little while ago. But yeah, there's really no good pictures. That's ESA's mission control, obviously. Did you see the news about Parker Solar Probe Venus radio signals? We covered that the other day. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, actually, this one isn't too bad. But see, the problem is that this picture right here is not high enough res. It would look like this. Did you know that was all going to be junked before they put the project on? Yeah, I did, Kelty. Yeah, I heard Gene Kranz's opening ceremony for it a little while ago, when they did it in 2019. Yeah, even this, it's too high up, because this is taken from somebody standing up. So it would look like I'm standing in mission control as opposed to sitting in mission control with a chair behind me. See, this is a little bit lower. Also too many people. I can Photoshop the people out. I'm not worried about that. There were people all over in this shot. And it's funny because I Photoshopped them out and replaced them with other people. Go figure. Yeah, this is awesome. The updated mission control. These consoles, I know, it's me though, so deal with it. These consoles were all manufactured by Ford. Ford made all the equipment. Ford made all the equipment for mission control. This is all Ford. Ford bought in 1961, Ford bought an electronic manufacturing company. I forget what it was called. And then they made all the consoles. They got the contract to make all the consoles and flight equipment for, like all the integrated circuits for the Apollo program. Not all the integrated circuits. The AGC was Draper. So like flight control systems, the stuff that was on the spacecraft was Draper. That was in Massachusetts. MIT basically. And then all the consoles, like the flight controllers, that's all made by Ford. And Chrysler made the first stage to the Saturn 1B. And then GM made the lunar rovers, if you really want to know. Chevy is the only car manufacturer to ever drive an automobile on another celestial body. Chevy's the only one. Chevy and Tesla are the only two automobiles that have ever been launched into space. Fun facts of the day, I guess. What about using something like the War Games War Room? Shady. Okay, so, look. Part of being a streamer is understanding that certain stuff on the stream, certain stimuli, I guess, on the stream, I don't like calling it that because that implies that you guys are like guinea pigs or something, which is stupid. But certain things on the stream get people to say certain things. So, like, okay, for instance. And now that I said something, it's not really going to work as well as it should. If I put this on the screen, I start talking about the Tupolev. Someone's going to go in here and say the B-52 is better. And then somebody else is going to say, oh, no, this plane is better. And then everyone will get into an argument about which airplane is better, even though they're both strategic bombers and they both do their jobs good enough. Missing the entire point that it's not about comparing bomber versus bomber. It's about comparing to what the designers needed it to do. And what the designers needed it to do is suitable for the application, right? Because engineering is all about application, right? B-52 is better. See what I mean? I know you said that as a joke, but that's, if I put the War Games thing on here in the War Games background, what do you think's going to happen? It'll start with people talking about how War Games is a good movie, and then people will move into mutually assured destruction, and then after that people will move into nukes, and after that people will go into Herder, my nukes are better than your nukes. Trust me, I've played this game 1,000 freaking times at this point. I'd just rather have mission control. Yeah, those are great pictures. Nice, Forge. Trust me, it's really easy to have a conversation spiral out of control. Ask me or Drummer how easy it is. It's real easy. All it needs is, and this is why I have my rule against, like, stupid rhetorical politics in chat. Like, if we want to have a discussion about spaceflight policy, I don't mind, but I consider that different than the standard Twitter banter argument that you see about whose politician is better, because my team versus your team is the answer, right? MCCH is better than Star City. Remember the EU-SOIG report. There are certain things, Apatoxin, I just can't really talk about. Like, without... Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I do it knowing full well it's going to devolve into a horrible situation, but I do it for the space news. Like when we covered the National Spaceflight Council meetings. You think... All right, guys, do you really think that putting the vice president, the 45th vice president up here on the screen, front and center, is a good thing to do for a streamer? I'll wait. Do you think that's a good idea? I did it anyway because I was curious I wanted to listen. And I wanted to listen what our space program is going to do. And guess what? During the next National Spaceflight Council meeting, I'm going to put the 46th vice president up on here. How do you think that's going to end? That's going to end very poorly. Like, let's be real. That's going to end great. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there are certain things that I call Mustache Man for a reason. Because if I say his name, people are going to come out of the woodwork, and then people are going to have a conversation about blah, 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 blah. So I just say Mustache Man. I say short Mustache Man and long Mustache Man. Oh, yeah, Vasya, one time yeah, exactly. The 45th president, and I say that because if I say his name, people are going to go, brrr, it brings the crazies out of the woodwork, right? Every time, without fail. Without fail. When he gave that address at the VAB talking about what he wants to do with the space program, dude, it got so bad, I ended up shutting it off. I shut it off, and I got really annoyed with chat. And then I ended up having to go watch it later, and there was actually a lot of good stuff in there. And what's very, like, don't get me wrong, first and foremost, NASA's budget is tied to public perception, okay? If the U.S. taxpayer sees it as a useful service, it'll stay, straight up. If we see it as something we don't need, it'll go like that. And trust me, it's really easier for it to go than it is to get it back. Look at what happened with the Apollo program to the space shuttle. Look at what happened with Constellation to SLS. See what I'm talking? Once it's gone, it's really difficult to get it back, right? So NASA's funding is entirely tied to public perception first and foremost. But I'll tell you this: it really helps if the executive branch is on board with it. It really helps if the president is on board. Yeah, that really helps. I'm not going to lie to you, and it really did help from 2016 to 2020. That was great. I mean, perfect. Dude, great pick. Good call. Good call, man. Like, I can... Like, people aren't going to like hearing that, but... Oops. I know, Lego. It's ridiculous. I try to avoid that stuff, dude. I just want to listen to what people say. I just want to hear it. I want to hear what people have to say. I don't want to sit there and go like what everybody else does and go from 0 to 11 and then freak out and then spend all your time freaking out when you could have been listening and absorbing information. I like to listen, believe it or not, even though I sit here and get freaking paid to talk to you guys all day and blab my mouth off like I'm doing right now. In reality, I like sitting and I like listening because that's how I learn. I learn better if I shut the hell up and shut that part of my brain off. Like, you know, everybody wants to get a word in nowadays. Everybody wants to get a word in. I don't. I just sit there. Like when we're watching press conferences, I don't pause the video. I don't talk. Like when we're watching pressers with crew or with whatever, I mute myself. I mute myself and I sit there and I take notes and I answer some questions in chat here and there. A friend got a picture of Air Force One and everybody made it political, but it was more about the plane. Fragment, when DM2 went off, okay, all right, when DM2 went off, Air Force One did a low flyby past 39A while the astronauts were going to the pad. And, dude, it was pretty cool. Like, screw me, right? I thought that was neat. I thought that was cool. Even if they did it now, I would still think it's cool because it's Air Force One. Like, that shows you that, you know, the guy at the highest point gives a crap. Like, for better or for worse, like, okay, I get it. Some people don't like the guy, some people really do. Like, and, you know, you could say the same thing with this guy around. Dude, point is, dude, I don't get involved. I try not to get involved with those games. I'm not playing games, dude. Like, you guys can go play the games on Twitter or on Reddit or on Facebook or wherever you want. I don't play those games, dude. It's a waste of time. It was cool, right? That was really neat. I thought it was cool. Screw me, right? Oh, chat went bananas when I showed it on stream, dude. Don't play those stupid games, man. Actions speak louder than words. Simple as that. What's wrong with Air Force One? I don't know much about this stuff. Air Force One is the code name for the 740 for VC-25. VC-25 is a 747 that's designed to move the president around. DM2 was in May of 2020. Do the math. Who was on that plane? No. Well, not at all. Anyway. Yeah, Corey. Nah, Lego, look. This is what Jim said, and this is what Bill said. Bill's opening address after he got nominated as administrator is it's a waste of time to butt heads about space because everybody likes space. Good. Go on, Bill. Do your thing. Corey, that feeds back into what I'm thinking, dude. Someone's always going to whine about a free lunch. You know, look. I'm not trying to say that the stuff people have problems with nowadays aren't real problems. They are, absolutely. All the strife of today will not be the problems that we face today will not be the problems that we face tomorrow. Just like the problems of 50 years ago are not the same problems that we face today. All right, but the point is we're always going to have problems, okay? Now, as far as I'm concerned, man, for the vast majority of us, at least anybody here that has the luxury, I would say, of watching a Twitch stream all day or watching a Twitch stream at work, you know, I get it. Some of us have it harder than others. But also at the same time, dude, look at how connected we are. Look at the luxuries that we have. These, even 10 years ago, were unheard of. You know, everybody has a smartphone. Like, not everybody. And I get it. There are people, certain people, everybody comes from a different background. And that's the real thing here. You can't make generalizing statements like that, you know? But we do all have an unprecedented level of luxury. And it's an unprecedented time of peace in human history, man. It has been since the end of World War II. And I don't know if nukes or whatever has anything to do with that. And now that I said that, people are going to start a conversation about nukes and whatnot. But look, man, you know, the point is we're always going to have problems. But we're always going to solve those problems because we're humans. That's what we do. That's what we're good at. Humans are really good at finding ways to solve problems. That's what makes us human. Good space. What's that? Yeah, that's actually the next article that I have. Fun fact, I didn't have any sort of smartphone until shortly after I got my first job at the theater back in 2019. We like to solve problems we create. Ando, it's how the problems got there, man. It could be man-made, could not be man-made. There are people that get paid millions of dollars to try and figure out a way to not have carbon in the atmosphere nowadays. I'm pretty sure we played a little bit of a part in that. I think that's fair, right? I think that's a fair thing to say. What has the Space Force itself done thus far for people? Well, Corey, we know the position of that Long March stage because of the 18th Space Control Squadron. The 18th Space Control Squadron, 18th SPCS, which is part of the Space Force, is tracking that debris. Yeah. Did I miss Starship Talk today? Nope, haven't gotten to it. You should do a TED Talk. I don't know, Lego. I like doing it here. I like being down on you guys' level and talking with you guys. I don't like being up on a podium and being like, well, this is my TED Talk. I want to sit here and have conversations, dude. I don't want to just be the one yammering here the whole time, even though that's sometimes is what is needed, you know? I really don't care. This is cool. It is cool, man. That's awesome. Right, Forge? That's what I'm saying. You know, that's pretty freaking cool. Oh, but people went bananas. And tried. Drummer had to time out like 30 people. Any idea where it's going to land? No. Plus or minus 24 hours on the 9th is what I've been hearing. Jonathan McDowell, who works at the Center for, Center for Astronomy? Who was on NSF Live the other day, he's tracking it as well. But the Space Force tracks that debris. So, Corey, or whomever asked me about Space Force is useful because, okay, how they bill it as is that space is an expanding theater of war. And two things you got to understand. One, they say it that way to get money. Everything is billed as a defense project if you want something funded. All right, let's not beat around the bush. The space shuttle is a very good example of that. Second of all, how war is fought in space is not guns. It's not For All Mankind here, which is why I hate that show so much. It's not guns. It's not Space Marines for the Imperium of Man. That's cool and all, but that's not how warfare in space is fought. You know how warfare in space is fought? You maneuver a little satellite up to your buddy's satellite and go, whoop, and then it knocks it off course, and then they can't find it because they point their antennas and it's not there. That's how you fight wars in space. Nobody's gonna have ASAT missiles or the Expanse firing machine guns all over the place. That's a really stupid idea. That would be about as dumb as using a nuke in close quarters combat. We gotta raid this building. Send the guys in. Oh, there's insurgents in there that we can't find. Nuke it! Like, not the right application for the right tech. So, it's funny because warfare in space is fought like with something as simple as just booping another person's satellite and knocking it out of orbit. Not blowing it up. Blowing it up is, like I said, about as stupid as using a nuke in close quarters. You're going to blow up your own guys and the other guy's stuff too. That's dumb. Staff Sergeant EJ reported for view, sir. Nuclear. Did you send a submission in for Deer Moon? I missed the deadline, dude. I was too busy streaming. First world streamer problems. Could a briefcase-sized satellite give those nudges? Sure. CubeSats? Absolutely. Even better, deorbiting it. I mean, Sneaky, coming from the altitude that a lot of communication satellites are at, deorbiting it means obliterated because it's coming from geo. To be fair, a 2,000-pound JDM might be it's not the right application, Hellfish, right? But I have to expect that from the U.S., though. You know what, Giesen, believe it or not, yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gung-ho, but we're not that crazy, dude. Did you send a submission into Deer Mode? No, Corey, I missed it because I was streaming too much. You cut off its solar panels. I mean, yeah, that's something that the Space Force show got right. That's what you do. You go clip the solar panels. But that doesn't need any guns. You just need a pair of scissors. Just tick, tick, bye-bye. Zip, see you later. You know what I mean? Like, steal your enemy's satellites with a space shuttle. Yeah, that's how warfare in space is fought. It's not blowing stuff up. Because like I said, the collateral damage will end up taking out all your satellites because guess what? Where our spy satellites are and where the Russian spy satellites are and where the Chinese satellites are, spy satellites, and where the European spy satellites are, guess where those are? They're all in the same orbits. So if you blew up, say Russia went and blew up a European spy satellite, right, in a sun-synchronous orbit. Well, guess what? It takes out the Russian satellite. It takes out the European satellite, takes out the Russian satellite, and then it takes out the Americans, the Japanese, and the Chinese satellites because they're all in the same orbits. Nobody's going to be that guy. Nobody wants to surrender that capability just because it means taking out the other guy too. That's like using the martyrdom perk in Call of Duty. The martyrdom perk is an excuse for people that suck. It sucks to suck, bruh. Well, ergo, nobody wants Kessler syndrome because you're limiting your strategic capability on the ground by screwing it up in space, right? You could also get a satellite up in space with a laser. Just heat up the satellite so it can, yeah, exactly. Space is, the way warfare in space is fought is completely different than how we think. It's a lot more peaceful, believe it or not, than you might think. However, with that being said, the reason why Space Force was made and the reason why Space Force is expanding is because, well, it's expanding because it was nothing that the Air Force wasn't doing for the past like 40 years. Monitoring space debris, monitoring space activity, like an air traffic control for space. NORAD does that. That's part of the Air Force, right? Space Force is doing what they're doing because the space as a market and space as a domain is expanding. Just like during World War II, air warfare expanded like crazy, and that resulted in the Army Air Corps becoming the U.S. Air Force in 1947, right? Because aerial warfare expanded like crazy. And now the Air Force is vital because we started using planes more than we use trains or, or cars or tanks or whatever, right? Same thing with space. More people are launching things into space now than ever. And we have to be, like, believe it or not, like the Space Force is, every time Elon throws Starlink satellites up there, well, guess what? If there's an American satellite up on orbit and it hits something and it causes a ruckus, well, guess what? That's, it's our fault for not mitigating the debris. Like, all of the American satellites up there are being monitored by Space Force to make sure that they don't hit things. General MacArthur would disagree with all these points. Nuke North Korea. He didn't want to nuke North Korea nuclear. He wanted to hit China. He wanted to hit Beijing with a nuke, and Truman called him a nutter for doing that. That would have ended very poorly. Yeah. That would have ended very poorly. So, yeah, guys, Space Force was expanded because of more people are launching stuff into space because the markets in space are expanding. Now, you think of it like how the Air Force expanded in 1947, and then as a result of that, the commercial airliner traffic exploded in the late 50s, early 60s, not necessarily because of the Air Force, but because, the technology that was used to fund the Air Force found its way into the civilian market. So this isn't a bad idea. It's just, we just got to make sure, just like with the Air Force and not nuking the Soviet Union in the 50s and the 60s, we don't do the same thing nowadays. There's debris in space for China, but what exactly happened to cause the issue in the first place? Corey, I'll speak it in Kerbal terms, okay? In Kerbal terms, the Long March 5 core stage doesn't have a probe core on it, and the Chinese didn't even bother to put a probe core on it. So it's sitting up there, and it'll come back down. But where is it going to come down? I don't know. 70% chance it's going to land in the ocean. And I'm hoping that it does. I don't want that to come down. Heck, I don't even want that thing to come down in China and land somewhere in a city or whatever. It's uncontrolled, dude. Yeah, no probe core. That's what they did with the Long March 5. This is not the first time they did that. The Long March 5B, the first flight of a Long March 5B, where they launched their capsule, their new next generation capsule, the next generation lunar capsule that looks kind of like Dragon. It's like a mix between Oriole and Dragon. Same thing. It came down in a village in Africa, guys. Seriously, it came down on the Ivory Coast in West Africa, in a village. I don't think it hurt anybody, but I definitely recall some villagers over in West Africa just toting around Long March 5B core stage parts. Well, time to regulate space. Well, what do you think the Space Force does, dude? We can't regulate what other people launch into space, but we can certainly set an example, and that's what Space Force is all about. Dude, I think it's a great idea. I thought it was a great idea when it was proposed. I still think it's a good idea. Hey, Science Skull, what's up? Hey, guys. That is so irresponsible. I mean... Geek. What are the color of... What are those flames? Nice haircut. Thank you, CW. The downcomer hit somebody's house last time. Yep. Nice haircut. Thanks, E2. What is that? That's a Long March 2. A Long March 2 first stage first stage booster. You tell me. Those flames are bright orange. And look at the clouds. The clouds that are coming off are also orange. That's a hypergolic upper stage. The person that took this picture is dead. Like... And you think that's the only one. That's one of many. Look. Bro. This is not okay. You see all these people? Not alive. I can tell you that right now. Unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine, which is what they use for these boosters, is a carcinogen. It'll kill you if you inhale it. Like, even like at like 1 ppm, it'll kill you. It's a green, what is it? It's a capillary inhibitor. It's like, you ever seen The Rock? Kind of like that. It'll kill you. Yeah, see? Look, yeah, See, this is, I don't think it's a matter of being irresponsible, dude. I don't think they care. And that's a shame, dude. That's a shame, because I know China. I know that Chinese people are super resourceful like that, man. Their civilization is thousands of years old. They invented the freaking rocket. Hello? They invented taking explosives and taking an explosion and vectoring it through a funnel with solid rockets. It goes back thousands of years. I know they're smarter than that. And it's a shame. No, not liquids. Guy in the U.S. invented a liquid fuel rocket. So, like, it's a shame. It's a shame, dude. You're better than that. I know they're better than that. But, yeah, it seems like willful ignorance at this point. I mean, like, I don't know how else to call it. Either that or they're learning. Like, I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt, but that's the reason why I don't cover many Chinese launches. Even this one with the Long March 5 stage, I felt... If that thing comes down and it hurts someone, I'm gonna be really annoyed. I'm probably gonna delete the VOD of me covering it because screw that, dude. I don't want that out there. Is the haircut related to SN15? 15 did land, so I said I would get a crew cut, so here I am. Look, nothing. No lettuce. The opposite. I know China. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, Fractal, it seems like it. Hey, maybe they'll get it over time, dude. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know that China's smarter than that, man. Ever read of a Chinese emperor that built a chair covered with firework rockets? The men dreamt about going into space hundreds of years ago, and the rockets blew itself up. Yeah, hey, well. That's how we learn, humans, unfortunately. You know China and everything's about money. I mean, Preston, yeah. I mean, they seem to be very bottom dollar oriented, which... Once again, hey, it is what it is, dude. Anyway, next news. Let's go. They never found him, so feasibly he did go into space. Or, yeah, I mean, yeah, he went into space, and yeah, he's still floating around in space. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway, speaking of the Space Force, Space Force is to clear refurbished Falcon 9 booster for upcoming GPS launch. Have the Chinese commented on the boosters yet? Negative. They said they had a deorbiting mechanism, but... What is that current Long March debris? It's a Long March 5B upper stage, and it's in a 41-degree inclined orbit, and it's decaying. It's going to come down sometime in the next couple of days, sometime over the weekend, give or take. We don't know where it's going to come down. It is an uncontrolled piece of debris. That's not space flight. That uncontrolled pieces of debris, as far as I'm concerned, it'll be at a first stage, second stage, third stage coming down, are ICBMs. ICBMs are not rocketry. That's dumb. That would be a waste of time. Anyway, it's coming down on the 9th. The 9th is the projected thing, Jack, but it's hard to tell. When something is tumbling in orbit, it's hard to tell when or where it's going to come down. You can give a nominal window because when it starts to hit the atmosphere, the aerodynamics are going to make it fly on a weird trajectory. The ET of the space shuttle. The external tanks on the space shuttle Synerd all came down in the Indian Ocean, not in a shipping lane, I might add. Not in a shipping lane, and they actually, the ETs never, no part of the external tank by design was ever designed to come through reentry. The external tank was supposed to totally obliterate itself through reentry. Nothing left. No discernible piece. And just in case, you know, just in case something by chance did make it through with the shuttle's external tank, it would have landed out in the Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers away from any shipping lanes or any habited place. NTO blocks gas exchange in pulmonary capillaries. Yeah, that's great. What about the first stage of the Saturn V? First stage of the Saturn V came down around the same place that Falcon 9 stages land, Synerd. Second stage was going fast. The second stage on the Saturn V was basically hitting orbital velocity. They purposely shut down the S2 on the Saturn V right short of orbital velocity, and it decayed and it burned up completely. What about the core stage of SLS? It'll follow a very similar trajectory to the shuttle external tanks. They will shut it down, and it will come down in the Indian Ocean. Yeah, it'll burn up. Just like everything else. Actually, Forge, SLS is going to follow a very similar flight trajectory to OFT-2 and OFT-1. That Centaur, the dual-engine Centaur, flies on the exact same trajectory as the shuttle's external tank and the SLS core stage. Yeah, the dual-engine Centaur. Will the engine bay survive? The RS-25's the Humanity. I don't want to say how I know this, but the power heads from the RS-25s will probably make it through. Either that or they'll re-enter engines first and then no discernible pieces. If it was me, I would tumble the SLS core stage and have it end up going engines first into the atmosphere to ensure that it'll obliterate itself. Because the CAPUs, the CAPUs on the SLS stage are nitrogen. Or no, they're autogenous pressurized, so... yeah, if there's any COPVs, it's in the engine section, so I would want the engine section to hit the atmosphere first. Solid rocket boosters from SLS, they'll come down in one piece, T-Man, but they'll come down where Falcon 9 first stages come down. It explodes the oxygen-collecting parts of your lungs, which then fills them with blood, and then that boils when UDMH hits your lungs. Yeah, okay. Gross. That's correct, Corey. It's literally an entire stage. An entire core stage that's not as big as this, but almost as big as that. It's almost as big as Starship, guys. I think Long March 5 core stages are 5 meters wide, and they're, what, like 30, 40 meters tall? It's a big stage. Will the SLS SRBs even be reused? No. Lego, they cited infrequency of flight, and they won't be reused. They're just going to plow into the ocean. There's no parachutes on SLS's boosters. But there's a reason for that. SLS's 5-segment boosters don't have chutes, and, you know, because that payload for those parachutes can be used to get you better TLI mass. So you don't have parachutes and the boosters aren't reused, but that does net you more payload to the moon because it's less dry mass to move around. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I too like inhaling blood. Green? Yeah, great. That's good for you. Were all shuttle SRBs recovered or were some expended intentionally? No, they recovered all of them, Vasya. In fact, some of the SRBs that are on SLS, the casings are reused from shuttle missions. Yeah, just like the shuttle engines are. Yeah. I don't like that. I'm not that big of a... I mean, the boosters, yeah. I don't mind the booster casings getting expended, but I still believe that SLS should have RS-68s, but we're way past that point, dude. That sounds weird. Well, Vasya, so what they would do is they had two ships. The shuttle SRBs would parachute down, and actually, dude, this is really smart. It's really smart. It's a really smart idea. So, what's an SRB, right? An SRB is just a hollow tube with a nozzle at the end. That's it. It doesn't get simpler than that. It's a big Estes rocket engine, right? Here, let me get the picture up. So they had the parachutes, but even with the parachutes, this thing is still hitting the water, going like 100 kph. So what it does is it jettisons the nozzle, and then when the thing hits the water, right, the water tries to go up inside of the nozzle, right? Because it comes down parachutes first, right? The parachutes are up here, so that means the nozzle hits the water first. They dump the nozzle because it's ablative, and then the skirt is the first thing that hits the water, and then the water tries to go up into the tube, and because it's an SRB, it ends up compressing the air inside of here, and it acts as a gigantic shock absorber. That's part of the reason why the SRBs could land, no problem, despite them being so big and with parachutes. It's a gigantic shock absorber. It's a big pneumatic gas strut, similar to like if you open up the boot of a car or the trunk of a car. That's those two pneumatic gas struts. It works as a big gas strut, and that helps dampen out the landing force. And that's the reason why we would go and fish them out. And then from there, what they would do is they would take them back. They would tow them back through, believe it or not, literally where Falcon 9 ends up being recovered. They towed them right through there. And then, let's see if there's any pictures of it being recovered. They had two ships, the Freedom Star and the Liberty Star, and they would tow them right into Port Canaveral. And then, well, almost Lego. So they would come in and tow them through Port Canaveral, and then they'd go through the locks right here, right? See, there's the bridges for, that's the bridge for State Road 401. That leads to the south entrance of Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. The other cool thing is because the SRBs kept the air in there, they're actually buoyant. That's how they stayed pretty buoyant, right? Pretty crazy. So what they did from there is they installed a plug basically in the back of the SRB. They installed a plug in there, and then they turned them over on their side, and then they float. See, they float. It's actually pretty damn smart. And then from there, see, there's the plug right there. See that thing? It's a gigantic plug to make sure no water gets inside of the casings. They try to keep the air in there. And basically what they do is they sent scuba divers down. The scuba divers go down with the plug. They plug the bottom of the SRB, right? And then they turn the SRB over on its side, and the air stays inside. That's how they don't sink. And then they use the parachute rigging to tow them back. Well, kind of. They use the parachute rigging points to tow it back, just like what they did with the Dragon capsule. And then from there, they go through the locks, and the SRBs would go up here to Cape Canaveral Air Force Station or Space Force Station. They would go right here. You see how there's a canal that's dredged out, but it looks like it looks like they haven't dredged it in a little while because, well, this picture is old. And if you look right here, there's an SRB shaped pier right there. So what they would do from there is they had a gantry crane. There it is, right there. It was basically the same kind of thing they used to pull boats out of the water. And they would have one at the front and one at the back, and they would pull the SRBs out. And then they would put them on these rails and put them on these jigs, and that's when they would unbolt the segments inside of this processing hangar right here. They would unbolt the segments, and then from there, they would train them out. They would go on a truck back up to, hold on. They would go all the way up here. All the way up here. See that road right there? Go past 39A, go down the crawler way, and they would go to this building right here. See that one? That's an SRB processing building. We saw that being used during SLS. They would go in here. There's a giant crane that lifts it up. A big crane that lifts the whole sucker up. And then they put it on the SRB train, and they ship them back to Ogden. Over here. Yeah, Zell, you like that? They would ship them back to Ogden, Utah. That's where the SRB manufacturing facility is. It's way over there. And they use trains to move it because Vasia, the SRBs were moved by trains because of the same problem that you guys have. You can't transport them on roads. They're too heavy. They will literally sink into the road. Those SRB segments are ridiculously heavy. Like I don't know the weight of each segment, but that's why they went with a segmented design in the first place. And then they're dropped off at a facility near Ogden, Utah here, and then they're trucked back to the production area. I always lose it where the swap out facility is. It's near the train tracks. There's a swap out facility here, and then they drive them up the road. Oh, here we go. It's up here, I think. Yeah, here it is. Got it. See this facility right here? Take a look. Oh, look. There's the SRB train cars right there. And then there's an exact replica, an exact copy of that building in KSC, right? And then they take them off, and look, they drive them around on trucks. And then they go all the way up here to, well, what was Morton Thiokol. Now it's Northrop Grumman. The SRB processing facility. That's where the SRBs are made, right there. Well, that's final assembly. The grain and stuff, the ammonium perchlorate and hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene, the solid rocket propellant grain, is manufactured somewhere else. I knew it was a company called Pepcon in Utah, but I don't know where it is. I think they might just manufacture the grain here as well. And then check this out. From here, the test stands are over here. This is where they do the SRB testing. And it's funny because SRBs are a great way to burn down to bedrock. If you point an SRB at a mountain, it'll cut a hole in it. See, right down to bedrock. Took all the topsoil completely off. There's two big test stands for the big SRBs right there. 1 and 2. And then all of the rest of these guys are small SRB test stands where they test ICBM first stages and the strap-on boosters for like Vulcan and Atlas and Delta and stuff. Yeah, using an SRB to mine in Minecraft would be very useful. But the problem is that the stuff that you're mining, there's not a lot of it left. But yeah, see, check it out. The SRB test stands go right down to the bedrock. They scrape the topsoil off completely. That's how much thrust they make. Is it bad I really want to see a flat train car with an SRB attached to it? Go watch Mythbusters. So yeah, that's what we did with the shuttle SRBs. They never expended a pair of SRBs. They always reused them. It was a whole operation, but they're not going to do it with SLS because of SLS's infrequency of flight, which I disagree with. I think SLS should fly on the frequency of the shuttle, so 4 launches per year. But I'm not sure Jim even has the technical or the political prowess to get that done. Bill might. I mean, look, Starship is going to be flying a lot more frequently than SLS. If SLS wants to compete, and if Bill was smart, he'd bill it that way. Ha ha ha. I see what I did there. What he should say is like, look, they're going to be testing lunar starships left and right. We need more SLSs to be able, because that'll enable us more access to the moon. It'll end up being cheaper because we have ways to get to the surface. Gas bill, that's right. Are SRBs explosive without detonators? Quack, I wouldn't be smoking around them, that's for sure. SRBs are very volatile. Yeah, you don't want to find a source of ignition near them. If you do, yeah, if you do it, here. All right, let's see. So this is what happens when SRB propellant finds a source of ignition. Oh yeah, there it is. Ready? Skadoosh! You know how I know that? You know how I know that that's what SRB's finding a source of ignition that's not the spark igniter in the SRB, because that's the SRB propellant grain factory. Funny story. So this is the PepCon explosion, PepCon disaster. So check this out. When Challenger happened, we know how much they were ramping up the shuttle program, right? They were ramping up the shuttle program to launch it once a week, right? So they put in huge orders for SRB grain because they're going to need a lot of SRBs, right? Challenger happened. So guess what? The factory that made all the propellant was holding like 10 times the amount that they should have. And, you know, storing high quantities of explosive things tend to just find a source of ignition. And that is SRB grain blowing up. Oh, yep, didn't need that. Sure that's, yep. If you notice, the flame, the exhaust that's made from the explosion, I mean, yeah, that's a little bit of the dirt in there, no doubt, but it's the same color as the SRB plumes on the space shuttle. Oops. Whoops. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the PepCon explosion. Oh yeah, they had built up SRB propellant, at least a component to the propellant, the explosive part. Yeah, science, it's kind of like that. I don't know which one was worse. I'm going to go ahead and say that what happened in Beirut was probably worse because people were there. They evacuated the PepCon facility once. Dude, it's like in Terminator when they see the liquid nitrogen truck break. The guys just hit the abort button and everybody runs away. You know, did anyone get hurt? I'm pretty sure the PepCon explosion. No, nobody got hurt. Why do they transport the SRBs across America if it's so dangerous? Well, they keep them on trains, Quack. So it's pretty safe. Trains are pretty safe. They manufacture the SRBs in Utah because that's part of that is what makes NASA so dang robust. You notice how NASA has just been there the entire time. You know, it's hard to get rid of it, right? So how NASA and how Rule 8 guys like Jim was good at this. James Webb, the NASA administrator during the Apollo program, or during the start of the Apollo program, was good at this. This is part of the reason why NASA is so dang robust, because there's NASA facilities all over the U.S. and there's NASA contractors all over the U.S. If you spread it out, if you spread out the supply chain over all 48 states, it makes the program harder to kill. Now, transporting stuff by train is fine. What they do is the reefer cars, or the SRB transport cars, they're reefer cars, so they're refrigerated. So they keep the propellant extremely cool, so it's less likely to ignite. 2 deaths. There was only 2 from PepCon. Well, it's better than Beirut. Beirut was not pretty. I wish that the filament wound SRBs had been pursued after Challenger and not been canceled with the Slick 6 pad. Well, Vulcan, they're coming back. I'm pretty sure, Vulcan, that Northrop Grumman played the Air Force NSSL program to get funding for carbon composite segmented boosters. So like Omega's first stage. I'm pretty sure. Well, it's not so much that they played the Air Force. If they had gotten the contract for Omega, that would have been great. But also at the same time, I'm fairly confident that even if they didn't get the contract, that the carbon composite boosters, well, guess what? Just like with SLS for the first couple of missions, just like with the shuttle motors, right? Just like with the shuttle motors, you only have a certain amount of shuttle motors left over from the shuttle program, so you're going to need to make new motors. They're going to need to make new casings because the SRBs are expendable. So NASA has a program going around called the BOLE program, Booster Obsolescence and something or other. BOLE is what it's called, or BOLE. Northrop Grumman, Charles Precourt, from a Northrop, who works at Northrop Grumman, he worked on the Omega program. He's also a shuttle pilot and an astronaut. Said that the technology that was established during the Omega project will find its way, will be used in other technologies, and he specifically mentioned the BOLE. So I'm pretty sure Northrop Grumman, positioned themselves to, even if they didn't get an NSSL contract, that technology that they use to develop Omega's carbon composite boosters, or the wound carbon boosters, will find their way onto an SLS eventually. I'm pretty sure that's what SLS Block 2 is going to look like. We're going to have Omega side boosters on an SLS core stage. Carbon composite boosters on SLS will increase lunar payload capacity by a pretty significant margin. That should be able to put SLS in TLI amount in line with Saturn V, actually. Yeah. I think it's Booster Obsolescence and Life Extension. That's what it's called. Yep. 130 ton is the final SLS configuration. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, SLS Block 2 is not on the menu right now. That's a paper rocket. Block 1B is starting to be a thing right now. And once again, guys, you know what the funny thing is? Just going back to it, you know what the funny thing is? I'm pretty dang sure that NASA awarding SpaceX the HLS contract, and now whatever is going to happen with that, I don't know. NASA awarding SpaceX the HLS contract inadvertently sealed SLS's fate as a lifter that you're going to need. And I know that sounds really stupid. It sounds like a stretch, but hear me out. So, NASA doesn't want to put people on Starship until SpaceX proves that. That's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of time. What are you going to use to get to the moon in that time? You're going to use SLS. So, if Bill Nelson, the new NASA administrator, were smart, what he would do is say, well, hey, SpaceX is going to launch a lot more Starships, and they're not going to launch 3 Starships for our 3 SLS missions, right? Even though the HLS contract is for 2 lunar landers. It's for an unmanned landing test and then a manned landing test. So it's for 2 lunar Starships. You think SpaceX is just going to make 2 lunar Starships and call it a day? No. SLS needs to go toe-to-toe with Starship. And NASA putting Starship on the books officially, gives SLS something to bookmark against. Just how Starship Starship, it makes SLS look like it's really expensive. And now you could use that. Bill Nelson could use that to parry and say, hey, look, we need to bring the price down on our SLS boosters, right? We need to bring the price down. And how do we bring the price down? We bring the price down by block buying. Because if SpaceX is going to be able to put 20 lunar Starships into orbit, or at least 2 or 3 lunar Starships, and then refuel them in the amount of time it takes us to launch 1 SLS rocket, what's the point? We need more to be able to compete. Now NASA can cite SpaceX's low price as a reason to get more SLS. NASA awarding SpaceX that SLS contract inadvertently kind of sealed SLS as a vehicle that we need for a long period of time, which I think is hilarious. I think that's really funny because that's exactly what everybody didn't think it was going to do. Lunar Starship on SLS when? That's not going to happen. The core stage was never designed for that. The core stage was designed for a lander that could land 4 people on the surface. Plus, SpaceX hype may help SLS. Well, they got to work together now, Sawyer, which is hilarious to me. SLS and Starship are going to need to work together. So, yeah. That sealed the fate of both launch vehicles. NASA awarding SpaceX the HLS contract basically gave us SLS and Starship for the foreseeable, at least till the end of this decade. I think that's really funny. You know, I love me some carbon fiber. Yeah, Dread, my man. Come on now. I think that's really funny. But anyway, let's keep going with the news. I'm going to skip over the Maxer stuff tonight, Phil. We'll discuss that another day. Everybody wants to talk about Starship, and I really need to wrap up space news in the next 30 minutes. So let's go through it quick. Look at the top of my head, huh? I know, man. I know. I know. I shouldn't make bets like that. I mean, did I get the shaft, though? Look at this. All right, so check this out. What's that from Blue Origin? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's cool, Liam. Have you seen this? I actually have something about Blue Origin in the news here. I have a couple of more space news links. This isn't all we have here, but we're going to go through this quick because I want to play KSP. I actually got the itch today, which is bizarre. Because considering that I was like, I don't want to play KSP yesterday. Yeah, Sleepy, she thinks it's a little too short, which is funny. I went from too long to too short, but yeah, it's okay. All right, so rapid fire news. Boeing posted this afternoon. Launch update. Pending Eastern Range approval. Mission-ready Starliner team is targeting July 30th for OFT-2, the second unmanned flight test to prove that Starliner is a human, basically the final certification for human rating for Starliner, guys. So, Boeing bringing up the rear. SpaceX already moving people into space. I get it. Yeah, SpaceX beat them to it. But yeah, we have two ways to. We're about to have two ways to get into space. You know, if nothing goes wrong. And I think it's important to note that NASA made Boeing fly another orbital flight test with Starliner after OFT-1 in late 2019 didn't work too well. However, Boeing is paying for the OFT-2 mission out of their own pocket. So they NASA said, no, you got to fly it again, and Boeing manned up. So $400 million for this mission, for this test flight, to certify Starliner. And then they said, then Starliner should be able to do the CFT-1, which is the crew flight test, which is Nicole Mann, Barry Wilmore, and Mike Fink, should launch sometime in the fall if pending OFT-1 results. But check it out, guys, another spacecraft. Isn't New Shepard on July 20th for the manned mission? That's correct. I'm getting to that. So what if it fails again? It ain't gonna fail again, Hired. If it fails again, there should be. I mean, Boeing ain't gonna fail. They ain't gonna do that. Trust me on that one. 400 million. SpaceX is maybe a quarter of that.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
So what? Look, man, this is the proposal that NASA okay, look. I want SpaceX to get more contracts just as much as the next guy. But NASA accepted Boeing's bid at double the price of SpaceX, okay? That's NASA's fault for not choosing something that's cheaper. All right? That isn't Boeing's fault. If NASA goes, how much can you launch? How much will it take to engineer a new capsule? And Boeing says it's going to take $5 billion. And NASA says, okay, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? It's not Boeing's fault. Of course they're going to nickel and dime them. They're a company. They make money. That's the whole point. So, hey, $400 million for the orbital flight test. One, Boeing is paying out of pocket. So that should tell me that they're committed to wanting Starliner, to getting Starliner to work no matter what. Two, if the price points for Starliner are higher than they are for Dragon 2, that's NASA's fault. It's not Boeing's fault. We sent SpaceX an email asking how our luncheon milkshake tastes. They haven't replied yet. Aww. That's funny. Also, sorry, but should we update the center screen with the SN15 landing? Once I get some good images of it, LQ2, I will. I want this camera from the SN15 landing, but I have a feeling that the reason why SpaceX hasn't shown this is because SN15 came in at a weird angle because of the two-engine light, but I could be wrong. To be fair, Boeing did get way more money and essentially forgot to do integrated software testing. Well, Jake, once again, yeah, Boeing isn't without its faults for failing at the OFT-1 test, but I think it's another important thing to note that when the commercial crew contracts were originally awarded, NASA awarded Starliner and Boeing a contract because go with what you know. And they awarded SpaceX a contract because they wanted to take a little bit of a risk with redundant dissimilar architecture. So NASA got very involved in Crew Dragon's design, very involved. And they kind of left Boeing to their own devices. That's what happened. So there was very, very little oversight in the Starliner program initially. So once again, whose fault is that? That ain't Boeing's fault. Yes, they did screw up. That is their fault. But that happened because NASA said, all right, fine, you guys will make a capsule. We need to focus on SpaceX because they're the new guy. That's what happened. This is all in a GAO report. I forget which one, but it's there. NASA is not completely scot-free here, all right? They didn't have the same amount of oversight for Boeing's capsule that they did for Dragon. They held them to unequal standards because SpaceX was the new guy and Boeing was the legacy stuff. Well, that's what happens when you unequally apply the rules. Stuff like this happens. So it's not totally Boeing's fault. I mean, should the capsule have worked the first time? Yeah. If there were people aboard that capsule, would they have been able to fix it? Oh yeah, absolutely. If there were people aboard, Starliner would have been fine. They would have immediately seen that failure mode and fixed it. But the reason why, and even though Starliner didn't have anybody in it, they still did fix it, but the problem is it wasted too much fuel because of a TDRS handover. Seriously. Starliner had a malfunction right when it went to inertial guidance. So right when it went between the tracking data and relay systems. And they caught it, and keep in mind, that was a 15-second window at best between TDRS handover. That 15 seconds was enough to waste all the fuel that you needed to get to the ISS. And even then, they still put it on a trajectory that got it back to its landing site in 2 days. Those flight controllers that fixed Starliner on the way up, well, it was out of signal. Dude, that is that's one of the most legendary launch streams that we've ever watched. Everybody was wondering, we don't have any pictures of the launch vehicle. I'm sitting here watching this thing unfold and watching the flight controllers fix this damn capsule on the way up. And they fixed it and they put it on a stable orbital trajectory to come back in 2 days. And they did that in about 5 minutes. Seriously, they figured out exactly where they needed to put the capsule. They fixed the problem, and then they put it on a stable trajectory to get it back. Now think about this for a second. At MECO for Atlas V with the dual engine Centaur, they were purposefully suborbital, and then Boeing's orbital maneuvering and control thrusters will get the thing up into space, just like Dragon's Draco thrusters. The suborbital trajectory that happens when Centaur flames out is the trajectory that we talked about earlier, like the external tank. Guess what? You have about 10 minutes to save the capsule, or it comes down in the Indian Ocean uncontrollably. They saved that capsule and brought it back to the landing site intact in 5 minutes. That is legendary. I actually, last time I was at Intrepid, I talked to Allison Bollinger, who's a flight controller for NASA. I talked to her, and I started talking to her about the Starliner mission. She's like, and I was like, no. I like Starliner. I want to know who the flight controller was that fixed that problem and got the Starliner back to the landing site in 2 orbits. That's damn impressive. And she went, oh yeah. That guy's name is Richard Jones. He's a shuttle flight controller. I'm like, that's freaking legendary. And she was like, I can't believe you noticed that. I'm like, are you kidding me? We saw like an Apollo 13 scenario happen in real time, and they fixed it. That's so freaking cool. Today is SpaceX's 19th birthday. I think so. Yeah, maybe. And then the service module also decided to take a turn tilting the capsule after SM jettison. Yeah, crazy, right? I mean, yeah, Boeing screwed up for sure, but now NASA left them unabated. They didn't oversee them like they oversaw SpaceX, so Boeing isn't completely at fault here. I'm serious. How long is the Starliner test flight crew staying at the ISS? They'll probably be up there for a short duration stay, Starfleet, but the ISS manifests are always in flux. Did NASA fund Dragon? Yes, Zen. The Dragon capsule exists because of NASA money, Zen. And so does Falcon 9 by proxy. Yeah, Science Skull, it was cool. I thought it was awesome because you know how I knew something was up? I figured it out. Chat was saying, like, I think something went wrong. And then I started looking around because all they were showing during the OFT-1 tests were mission control. They weren't showing the booster, right? They weren't showing the capsule. They weren't showing anything. And we saw that something was weird by the shots in mission control of Starliner just shooting out all of its RCS and spinning out of control. So I started looking around, and I started looking at the flight controllers, and they kind of convened Apollo 13 style, and they're like, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And then they all went back, and then the capsule fixed itself and kept going. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then people in chat were whining about, like, we don't have pictures. Where are the pictures? Why don't they have pictures? I'm like, guys, we just saw an Apollo 13 style scenario play out. And all you worry about, all people are worried about are on-orbit shots. Shut the hell up. Nobody cares about the photos. Piss off. They have better things to worry about right now. I started getting mad. I'm like, come on, shut up. Look at this. This is amazing. The software, T-Man. The Starliner's internal timer did not match Atlas V's internal timer. Starliner's mission elapsed time, so T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, T plus 0, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, was not synced to Atlas V's counter. And basically Starliner thought it was being launched into space when they powered Atlas V on a couple hours before they launched the thing. So when Starliner went up and separated, it thought that it was already in space. So it started trying to look around for the ISS, like, wait, the capsule's like, wait a minute, where the hell am I? So they tried to figure out, it was like, I'm already up on orbit. Where's the ISS? What? It was like that, the Harry Potter thing with Dumbledore going. And they stopped it, and they fixed it, and they would have fixed it, and the test would have been fine had there not been a TDRS handover. The flight controllers figured out what was going on within a matter of seconds. And that 15-second window was enough for them to expend enough propellant so they couldn't get it to the ISS. 15 seconds of burn time on the propellants is, yeah, that's too close of a margin. Starliner's clock was 11 hours into the future. Yeah, there you go. So it thought it was already on orbit when after initial orbital insertion. And keep in mind, ULA, being the chads that they are, put it on the exact orbit that Boeing wanted, which was a suborbital trajectory, so the Centaur wouldn't be an uncontrollable piece of debris re-entering down over a potentially populated area. It's cool, man. That whole OFT-1 mission, despite the failure, was really cool. And you know what? Boeing probably learned a crap ton about Starliner from that. Seriously, nothing like flight testing. Dish, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Tori Bruno in the press conference is like, my rocket performed flawlessly. Ain't my problem. Customer's problem. I mean, he said that in a lot nicer way, not to piss Boeing off, but that's what he said. Yeah, exactly, Sneaky. Starliner got put into space and it was like, wait, this isn't the ISS. Where the hell am I? Oh, I gotta fire my thrusters. I'm not in the right orbit. That's what happened. That's why it oriented itself like downwards at the ground, because it thought it was over here somewhere. So it was trying to orient itself so the radiators would be at the sun, but it thought it was on the other side of the world. So that's why it pointed straight down towards the ground and started firing, if you remember correctly. Anyway, let's keep going. So yeah, we're probably getting a better capsule. You learn from these mistakes. Failures happen. SpaceX blew up a bunch of starships before SN15 happened. Hey, that's fine. This is going to make it safer for people, and I'm cool with that. And then now we have 2 ways to get into space. Actually, we're coming up on 4 if you include Starship. We have Starship, we have Orion, we have Starliner, and we have Dragon. Dragon's the first bit of the puzzle. Then Starliner right after that, and then Orion right after that. And then if Starship flies with people down the road, holy crap, man. Guys, the U.S. has never had 2 ways to get into space. Hey, we haven't had 2 ways to get into space since 1967. And even then, there was no overlap between Gemini and Apollo. That's the last time we had 2 capsules running in parallel with each other. And remember the prices? The prices for that were pretty expensive. Now it's not expensive at all. It's pretty nuts comparatively, because NASA's budget is not nearly as big as it was during the Apollo program. Crazy, huh? Soon to be 3. When Orion... Artemis 2 is... Well, Artemis 1, Sneaky, is the orbital flight test for Orion. And also the first test for an integrated stack on SLS. They're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That's why the interim cryogenic propulsion stage exists. Right? The ICPS? That's why it's there. Now, with that being said, Artemis, that's the orbital flight test for Orion. Artemis 2 is the crew flight test. It's cool, man. We're about to have 3 capsules. One that's 100% capable for deep space exploration happening here. This is nuts. It's crazy to me. Oh, yeah, Dream Chaser as well. Yeah, can't forget about that. Yeah, they said yesterday that they're going to land people. Eventually, they're going to land people at the SLF because unmanned Dream Chaser and manned Dream Chaser have 97% commonality. Literally, the only difference between the unmanned one and the manned one is a seat, a joystick, and some windows. Yeah, pretty crazy, huh? Well, New Glenn doesn't have any people on it, Firework, but yeah, we're talking about capsules. But yeah, I mean, even better if Blue Origin is developing an orbital capsule, which they very well might be. An orbital capsule on New Glenn would be crazy. That would be really cool. And we know that Slick 36 does have a fixed service structure gantry. And they've said that it could be used to launch crew. And New Glenn is human rated, so... Man, dude. Oh, this decade's going to be so good. This decade's going to be clutch for spaceflight. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, Neutron's human rated too. We have more rockets that are human rated right now at any point in American or human history. There's more, if we count Soyuz and we count Shenlong, which is the Chinese capsule. You count Soyuz, you count Shenlong, you count, Starliner, Dragon, Orion. We've never had that many ways to get into space at once. Looks like SN15 is getting moved tomorrow in a window from 11 to 1. Got it. Jeff Bezos did sell $2 billion worth of Amazon shares to fuel Blue Origin. He's been funding it with his own money, Kem, for like the past 10 years. $1 billion a year. Which is... Look, man, you can say whatever you want about Jeff. That's pretty friggin' cool. And you could say, oh, well, Blue Origin has done nothing. Ha 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 ha. But... Okay, so yeah, how about you spend $1 billion a year on your space program, okay? It's pretty damn impressive. Blue Origin has a higher funding... okay, Kem, I do not mean this in a derogatory way. Blue Origin literally has a bigger budget than Roscosmos. Which is absurd to me. That's ridiculous. Give me $1 billion and I'll do that. No, you got that the wrong way around. You need $10 billion to do it over a couple of years. Orion and Artemis 1 and 2 are moon tests. In some capacity, Ryan, they're trying to get as much testing in at once. Now, speaking of Blue Origin, let's see what this video from them is about. They did have a big press statement
New Shepard, we've been
yesterday, but
an aggressive step-by-step approach.
Overshadowed by SN15.
The first time we flew New Shepard, we demonstrated every single aspect, re-entry, parachute deployment, and that mission was 100% successful for the capsule. M2 was about rolling in changes and trying it again.
That's cool.
This time we stuck the landing, but we needed to show we could do it again. So that was what M3 was. For M4, we pushed the envelope, lighting the engine just seconds before it would impact the ground. We perfected it at that time. In M5, we intentionally did not deploy one of the main parachutes, and it worked perfectly. We had done a pad escape test that the capsule can launch and escape if there is an accident on the pad.
I wish they'd streamed that.
The M6 mission was about testing that at its most stressing condition. We ignited the solid rocket motor in flight and showed that we can recover the capsule safely.
I remember watching that. That was pretty
For
rad.
M7, what we introduced was a new capsule design.
Spicy
M8
gum
was
drop.
just a repeat. And then the third escape test was to show that we could escape in space. So on M9, the capsule lit off its solid rocket motor and landed safely. M9 and M13, we are flying payload missions for customers, giving us even more and more confidence in the capability of the New Shepard system. 13 was a perfect flight, preparing for the M14 mission, another verification and check. We're ready for first human flight.
I mean, they did 15 launches, right? That gives confidence if I were a tourist on board of that capsule. Yeah, I mean, look, if I had the cash, I'd fly a New Shepard. Sure, absolutely. Why not? There's, guys, 15 tests is pretty good. I'd ride on it. Dude, that thing is probably one of the safest things that goes to that altitude and comes back, you know? And you know what the crazy part is, man? They're getting, like, I didn't really think about this. Like, at face value, you understand that they're getting experience with landing boosters, which is great. I get it, suborbital booster, not orbital. It's a little bit of a different thing. But also at the same time, this thing it's a hydrolox booster with a tap-off cycle engine and a single motor, which means that motor can deep throttle like crazy to be able to land, which is pretty damn impressive. But one thing that I really didn't take into account is that they're doing parachute tests every time. Parachute tests, this testing criteria does not change if you have an orbital capsule or a suborbital capsule. Parachutes are parachutes. So the parachute systems for an orbital capsule, if you're doing a capsule design, are one of the most important things to get right, because if you don't get it right, well, splat. So they're getting test results on their parachutes every time. They've done 15 plus tests on those parachutes, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, SpaceX did over 100 drop tests. Parachutes are parachutes, EJ 2021. You heard it here first. I mean, I get it. Blue Origin hasn't launched anything into, they haven't launched anything into orbit yet, but man, this is a pretty dang good, that shot though. Okay. Pretty dang good test regime to get to that point, huh? Also, I want to draw attention to the sound effect that you hear, which is the generic separation sound effect here. Listen, real quick, listen.
Every single aspect, re-entry, aspect, re-entry, single aspect, re-entry, single aspect, re-entry, single aspect, re-entry, single aspect, re-entry.
Yeah, that's a GoldenEye sound effect. the door opening. Yeah, Ponzister. Whatever happens, happens. Have you seen the poll? What's that? Gynosin, I just have link perms in here to prevent people from spamming stuff. Have you seen the Polish engine test of the fourth test of the SF-1000 engine from April 30th, 2021? Main improvements compared to previous tests. Thanks to proprietary ablative technology and new composite compositions, the mass of the combustion chamber was reduced while mechanical and thermal strength was increased. Specific impulse is 216. Not bad for the record. The SRB rockets from the shuttles were 242. What is this? You say SF-1000 and I think Formula One cars. Hey. Space Forest. Dobre. Pretty good, man. Yeah, Hellfish. And you know what my favorite part is? This is great, by the way. You know what my favorite part of those New Shepard launches? The last NS-14 and NS-15 are using terrain relative navigation to find the landing site. So, okay, what does that mean in plain English? So terrain relative navigation is something that is a technology that's been pioneered from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. What does TRN mean? You're using a neural net to scan the ground in real time and plot a landing solution while you're coming down. So that means that the last two New Shepards to launch had no pre-programmed landing site. New Shepard came down, it has cameras on the Taurus wing on the top, searched for a flat landing site, which would have been the actual prepared landing site because that's the flattest thing around, and landed on it. The last two New Shepard landings have used TRN, the same thing that we used to land Perseverance on Mars. It's pretty damn cool, man. How's the container booster coming? Astra? I'm not sure. I haven't heard much from them lately. Talk about fire tests. One of the Chinese startups had a methane engine test. Let's see. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, man. Chinese launcher startup Xinjiao Yunjian completes a full engine hot fire test of its 80-ton liquid Methylox Longyun engine, which was a pretty epic video test. That's cool, man. All right, anyway. So, check this out. Next thing's coming from Virgin Orbit. This is the company that launches the rocket off of Cosmic Girl, the 747-400, with a missile launcher attached to the side, which is pretty awesome. We're delighted to announce our next mission to space. This June, Cosmic Girl and Launcher 1 will carry payloads to orbit for DIU, Defense Innovation Unit, and the Department of Defense Space Test Program. Poland-based Sat Revolution and the Royal Netherlands Air Force. What do we got? Tubular Bells, Part 1. Whoa. Mama. Yeah. This is launched off of the wing of a 747. Cryogenic air start, man. That's pretty damn cool. Man, there's so much good stuff. Cool. Cool. Richard Branson, Virgin Records. Neat. Wait. Are you guys trying to tell me... Gein, are you trying to tell me that Poland can into space? Whoa. Alright, so... we're on to the SpaceX news here. And we'll get that stuff done. Actually, no. I got a little bit of Russian news here, I think. Let me just get a couple of links transferred over here, and then we'll lightning round the rest of this stuff. I mean, everybody wants to talk about Starship, let's be real. I got a couple more things here. Man, there's so much. I can't believe how much space news there is. It's just absurd. There's so much. All right, I'm gonna lightning round this stuff here. That can go there, that can go, oh, nope. All right, so let's go over to the Russian news. Let's see what's going on here. So this is coming from Katya Pavlichenko, who is a writer for NASA Spaceflight now, actually, which is pretty cool. Roscosmos is going to order 6 more Gonets M satellites, number 36, 37, and 38, until July 1st, 2025, and 39, 40, and 41 until October 1st, 2025, not 2029. They will spend 3.7 billion rubles for this. The launch of the next 3 Gonets M satellites is scheduled for 2022. Gonets are communications satellites, if I'm remembering correctly. These shoot into Molina orbits, right, Kem? Cool. At this rate, you're going to have to just dedicate whole streams to space news. I was thinking about doing that, Sneaky, but who knows? I want to play Kerbal today, dude. I have the itch again. It only... after a devastating loss, a week later, I'm like, yep, let's go. I want to play again. Who doesn't write for NSF yet? Your boy doesn't. I don't. I'm not a writer, though, so... You got the ideas. You need to train on the pronunciation of the sound. Okay, that's cool. So they've ordered a bunch more satellites. Those are communication satellites. GoNets will probably be part of the Sphere constellation. Cool. So this next one is coming from Anatoly Zak. Russia's multi-purpose lunar lander, expected to start its flight career as a platform for soil sample and return missions to the moon, might later become a common carrier of cargo and even cruise to the lunar surface. That's the Luna 5 descent stage. Wait a minute. That's where I've seen that shape before. Is it anything like that? No, it's not. Okay, it's not like the LK lander. I bet you the legs come from it, though. I was gonna say, though, Luna 25's descent stage chem looks a lot like, it reminded me of the LK lander, mostly because of the legs. But yeah, it's a different design. Interesting. The LK is the Soviets' lunar lander that they, it ultimately didn't make it, but that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the lander. The lander, as far as I know, was working just fine when they canceled the program, but they didn't get it there. That's the problem. They will use that for the Luna 27 to test it. Cool. So, landers being landers, it's basically just a bunch of pressure vessels welded together with a bunch of rocket engines in the center. Mass is at a premium when you're landing stuff on the moon. You really can't afford anything that doesn't need to be there. So, it's legs bolted right to fuel tanks, engines bolted right to fuel tanks. It's bare bones as you can get. The funny thing is that the Apollo descent stage, the descent module for the Apollo program, is pretty much the same thing, only with some Mylar wrap and some covering over it, which is crazy. I find it fascinating that Russia is resuming the moon stuff after a hiatus of 40 years. Yeah, the Russians restarted their lunar program last year. And the crazy part is, Kyron, is that they basically went into the warehouse where they left all the Luna stuff when they shut the program down. They mothballed it in 1991. They went in there, cleaned off all the hardware, and started it up again. Cool. Luna 28. Got it. Sorry, I'm on phone, so I'm typing slowly. I think the most interesting news is the one from IBM. IBM today announced a new breakthrough, introducing the world's first chip using 2 nanometer processing technology. I mean, I don't really cover tech news, guy, but that's still cool. Like, I'm not going to say that it isn't. All right, the next tweet is coming from Dmitry Rogozin here. Possible fall area for the Long March 5B stage. The Russians are also tracking it. There's New York, Chicago, Washington, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Curacao, London, Paris, Rome, Madrid, Oslo, Berlin, Moscow, Sevastopol? Yeah, the highlighted area is any spot where that Long March 5 stage could come down. It has a 70% chance of landing out in the middle of nowhere. Ideally, you'd want it right here. This is where everybody else disposes of unneeded stuff on orbit. And then the shuttle external tanks, because the shuttle would launch this way to the ISS, mostly came down over here in the Indian Ocean. Even if you launched it at 27 degrees inclined, your ascending node usually ends up here, no matter what the inclination launching from KSC. So 134 external tanks, or whatever was left of them, are sitting right there. Yeah, the South Pacific over here is where people dispose of stuff usually. That's like the dumpster for space flight stuff. Mirrors over there. Skylab was trying to get there. It ended up crashing right here. Yes, Tokyo, Vladivostok, Berlin, Hanoi. What's that one? That's Canberra, right? We should salvage them. Cape Town right there. Rio de Janeiro, Buenos Aires. When does this happen? Ah, Jakarta. Yeah, that's what that is. Got it. Yeah, because the Russians... Yeah, D. Yeah. To get a J noise, you need that A and the X. Yeah, that's right. Will Buxton. Yeah, yep. Cool. So there's Omsk. Vladivostok. What's that one? Irkutsk, right? Where's Novosibirsk? Why isn't Novosibirsk on there? Someone should pay NASA's littering fine from Skylab. It would make a funny story. Nah, it's even better that we didn't pay it, because America fragment. Yeah. They have to put Sevastopol on the map. King, don't read too much into it, man. Don't read too much into it. Next news. It won't land on Buenos Aires because that gets hit by a bug asteroid later. Yep. A radio station paid it. Alright. The designer of the Meteor M2 satellite confirmed that the orientation of the satellite has been restored. So the Russian Meteor 2 satellite, which is an asteroid detection and meteorological. It's not asteroid detection, excuse me. It did fail, but it failed after its service life, but they actually fixed it. They fixed it back. So that'd be similar to when they fixed Hubble after one of its gyros broke a little while back, which is cool. That's cool. Less space debris is good. All right. On to SpaceX stuff here. So just after 5 a.m. this morning, Go Navigator arrived back at Port Canaveral with the Crew 1 Dragon capsule. There it is. Greg Scott took this photo. He's a launch photographer here. Let's see. Long journey around the state of Florida to get back home. Cool. This thing will most likely be refurbished at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. That's where the Dragon refurbishment area is. All right. So this is coming from Gavin Cornwell, who is he runs the SpaceX fleet account, kind of keeping track of what SpaceX's Navy is doing. The fairing recovery ship Sheila Bordelon had ended up about 250 kilometers northwest of the fairing splashdown site. The ship slowly sailed in that direction with the tracker destination as escort fairing over the last 24 hours. Very odd. Following a drifting fairing in the water? It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. Jenny Huntman got some awesome photos of it coming in. Cool, Vulcan. Right on, right on. The fine was already paid. Ah, nice. Cool, cool. Nice, Fun Sister. That's funny. It's funny that NASA didn't pay it. Interesting. Okay. So, this is a little bit more SpaceX news. So, this is coming from Jim Farley. Jim Farley might not be Bill Paxton. Hey, gorgeous twin. See any flying cows heading to the moon lately? You copied Dorothy. You copied Dorothy, man. Nice. So Jim Farley isn't a name you probably hear me talk about, but let me tell you, he's the CEO of Ford, and he likes racing vintage Fords. I like Jim. Be like Jim. He's another Jim that I like. There are a lot of Jims out there that I'm particularly fond of. And check this out. Jim Farley said, "Congratulations to the SpaceX team for this amazing accomplishment." Hey! See? Elon likes Ford, man. He likes Ford. See? Slim Jim? I like Slim Jims. Actually, yeah, Jim Farley, he's the CEO of Ford, and he actually, that's not just a publicity picture. The guy races vintage Fords, which is really, really friggin' cool, actually. And his Twitter is littered with SpaceX Starship stuff, which is freaking awesome. Is that Duncan? Of course it is. And the next gen car. Hey guys, you know how excited I am about this? It's very much like the actual car, the actual Mustang that you could buy in the shop. You know why? Because it has a Ford logo on it. Them rims, though. Actually, I was looking a little bit more into the next-gen cars. They're actually, dude, these things they're basically V8 supercars at this point, man. They have independent rear, and then they have detachable, bolt-together subframe, which is really freaking cool. That'll make the cars easier to manufacture, that's for sure. Also, they have much bigger rims, much bigger brakes, so that means they can race more road courses too, which is also cool. Last, Sebi, the headlights are fake. I know you were asking about that. Crew Dragon Resilience will be used for Inspiration 4 with Crew 3 being a brand new capsule. Yep. At least the gas filler's on the correct side. Yep. Nah, yeah, these are cool, man. Cool cars. Seriously. Totally different aero package too. So I mean, these cars are, like I said, NASCAR is basically, it's slowly turning into V8 supercars, which, yes. Yeah, matte finish. Hits differently than the usually glossy metal finish you see. Matte paint actually is better for thermals, Sneaky, if you really want to know. Bright matte paint, like on a rocket, is better for thermals. Yeah, better for cooling. True story. It's also faster because it's lighter. Because you don't have a clear coat on it. It's just
Discovery,
paint.
go at throttle up.
Yeah, funny how that works. See, Ford knows. Ford gets it. I mean, that car's pretty fly. I like it. It's got a whole shooting brake thing going on that I really, really appreciate. Also, the new NASCARs have ridiculous diffusers. Guys, they're tooling up for road courses, man. They're tooling up for road courses. That's what they're going to do. Cruzo, 12 months, 1 year hype. Thanks, man. And for aero, matte paint has a golf ball effect as well. Furred, man. Bolt-on clips mean modularity. I would love to build my own track car with a kit. That would be really cool. Be easier for people to enter the sport. I don't have a problem with that. I just thought it was funny during the reveal. They were like, oh yeah, it looks, it's exactly like the real car in every way because it has the same badge on it. Isn't Road America on the roster now? With these cars will race Road America real good. With the big brakes and the independent rear, it's cool. The other thing to note with NASCAR is that previously you needed a different chassis. Like you needed a special version of the same race car to race a super speedway or a short track or a road course. This one chassis will be able to do it all. That right there will actually be able to make it so it's easier for new teams to get into the sport. I understand what they were doing, and I really wish during the reveal yesterday they would have said this, but it's okay. Sad to say that Goodyear will have to bring 2 different tire sizes to the track for the next couple of years. Yeah, whatever. Are those fake exhaust tips? Where? On the back of the car? Yeah, those are fake exhaust tips. The exhaust is over here. Let's not beat around the bush. This does not have a muffler on it. In order to get the best performance, you need to be able to move that air away from the engine as quickly as possible. Just like you need to, for better performance, you need to push it into the engine as quickly as possible, sometimes with a turbo. Yeah, no, the exhaust is right there. That's fake exhaust on the back. But the diffuser, though. So, okay, little bit, bringing this back into aerodynamics. What does a diffuser do? Well, okay, what this thing does is it intentionally creates a ton of low pressure over the rear end of the car. So air gets pushed out of the way by the front of the car. The splitter right here is designed to have air that's coming on laminar flow get pushed out into the sides. That's why the car is like sloped up like this. It's designed to push the air out and away, okay? You do not want air going underneath the car, okay? Air going down here is bad. You want to create as low pressure as possible down here, underneath the car. Because, if anybody here understands Bernoulli's principle, right? If you create low pressure over the rear of the car, and low pressure underneath the car and high pressure air on the top of the car, what is it going to do? It's going to create downforce. It's going to create upside down lift. Because if you think about an airplane's wing has air underneath it at high pressure, and on the top you have air at low pressure. Low pressure with high pressure underneath. That creates lift. This actually creates downforce. That's the difference between a wing and a spoiler. Spoilers create downforce. Wings create lift. So you don't call the wing on the back of a car a wing. You call it a spoiler. Spoilers create downforce. The diffuser, if you notice, any air that's underneath the car is going to come into the diffuser, and the diffuser is a much bigger volume than what's underneath the car. So that air that's at whatever pressure coming underneath the car is going to try to fill an even bigger volume. That creates way low pressure. The air molecules spread out. And that creates a ton of downforce over the rear wheels, pushing the rear wheels into the car, making the car go faster. Spoilers ruin movies. I mean, sure. They don't provide downforce to movies, though. So, spoiler alert. Spoilers create downforce. Sure. See, there's a lot of aero differences on these cars than the current ones. See right here? Even right here, there's a vent. You see how it's like open right there? You know what that's for? Well, a NASCAR needs ducts for brakes. So one of these ducts right here, or one of these quacks right there, is an intake, like an intake on a jet engine that flows air over the rotor on the brake, and that exchanges the heat from the brake. When you clamp the brake, it makes friction, right? That's how the car slows down. When you clamp the brake, you're taking your kinetic energy and you're basically taking that energy and you're turning it into heat via friction, right? So you need air constantly flowing over your brakes to keep the temperatures down. Now look, they're flowing a lot of air in here, but that means air pressure underneath the car. No, they made a space for all that air that's cooling the brakes to come out the side right there. Smart. It's real smart. Less side force. Yep. They use ducts for brakes? Yeah, duck bill. It's very, very grippy. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Aerospace and cars colliding right here. Also, Jim is the man. Because GT40. Mark IV GT40. Yeah, what a legend. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Oh, guys, there's trucks being manufactured. Nope, I'm not good. Help, I need to finish the space news. Help me. What the hell? That's not part of the assembly line. Help. Yeah. Bird. That's the Kentucky plant. Ford has a huge truck plant in Kentucky. They make Ford trucks in 2 spots right now. They're made in Michigan in River Rouge, which is my favorite. First gigafactory. And then they're made in Kentucky as well. Oh, assembly line. Oh, that's so cool. All right. Okay. Next news. All right. So this is coming from RGV. And there's a picture of SN15 back down on the ground. Last. What's up? You ever find it ironic that we use the accelerating of molecules to decelerate our cars since heat is molecules vibrating more? Physics. Weird, huh? Current car underhood temperatures are usually 38 to 4. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So, if you missed it, yesterday, SN15, and this is NASA spaceflight's footage, but it's the cut footage, which is amazing. If you missed this, SN15 went for a test flight to 40,000 feet. And it made it. It landed in one piece. Not current. Oh, way to ruin my day. Thank you. Thanks, Azanku. I appreciate it. Because you know how I feel about factories getting shut down. That's great. Let's get to the good stuff. So once again, this footage is coming from NASA space flight. This is... Holy crap. This is DAS's danger cam here, a PTZ camera that, DAS helped set up from the beach bot. That's ridiculous. I still can't believe that. That's from Mary's view right there. Gorn, this looked great. The only thing that I'm wondering about is that John Innsbrucker in the cast said that they were gonna fire 3 engines, then land on 2 and then 1, and it looks like we saw 2 engines all the way down. So I'm wondering if they had some kind of ignition failure or something. Yeah, Tim, that's what we were talking about yesterday. That's what it seems like, but that's... okay. This is from Jack's view. That's some birds. Also Starship. I don't know, LQ. It's hard to say. I would hope to. Oh, that's awesome. Look at the legs. You can see the legs deploy. Dude, that landing looked crisp as hell, man. It was perfect. No leaning, no nothing. That thing came down perfect. It's unbelievable. Here, hold on. Yeah, if you look, when the thing comes down to land, the length of the plumes change shape. That's raptors throttling in real time. Watch. See? See them change shape? And then they go back? Oh, that's so damn cool. I can't, dude, I don't mean to sit here and swoon over it, but oh my goodness. That is amazing. It looks like they had some residual methane pop off inside of the engine section. That's normal, guys. Believe it or not, I talked with Rocket Guy about this. That's normal. That's, yeah, the pops that you hear, that we heard is just excess methane burning off. Yeah, the vehicle, yeah, it seems to be okay. Rocket Guy, who's a Twitch streamer and a good buddy of mine that is a actual propulsion engineer, like an actual rocket scientist, told me that methane does that. It's normal. It didn't look like it, maybe a little bit, Dave, just a teeny weeny bit, but here. Liftoff and landing from Mars cam. I know, Dragon. It's seriously, it's Buck Rogers stuff, dude. It's freaking Buck Rogers, man. That's jeez. Yeah, we're gonna play KSP after we review this footage, and I'm serious. We're actually going to play it today. I'm gonna get a lot of KSP in today because we have a lot to do. I'm, like, hypnotized from this. Does that not look weird? Like, and no, I'm not trying to insinuate anything. It looks weird because we've never seen it happen before. That is just the strangest thing. Like, and once again, no, I know it happened. Yeah, dude, I know. You don't need to tell me. I know exactly what's going on there. But, man, that's weird. It doesn't look right. Dude, and that's coming from somebody that's seen Falcon 9s come down and land. It does not look right. It looks weird. It's backwards. Your brain's like, something wrong here? Oh, no, it landed. That didn't look right. Yeah, it's weird because it actually survived, dude. It's crazy. We got another angle from Mary here. Oh my goodness. Also note that they used engine 1 and engine 2 for landing, unlike engine 2 and engine 3 on SN8, which would give them the highest lever over the center of mass. Yep. That's the aerodynamic test stand here. That's the craziest thing. That's the damnedest thing right there. I can't believe that. Yeah, Zen, I know. How close to the edge of the landing pad was it? A couple of feet? So, like, maybe a meter at best. Having that engine out definitely pushed it a little bit off-center on the landing pad, but still made it. Think they're going to get SN15 down tonight? I think per the road closures, it's probably going to move tomorrow. But still, how crazy is that, dude? Nuts. There it is. Crazy thing is, this picture from RGV, it doesn't look like the tiles fell off. And it looks like maybe those three got damaged a little bit during landing. And maybe one tile fell off there. But I know that the tiles that are missing right there came off during the static fire from previous pictures that we've seen. But they definitely didn't come off here. So those tiles are damaged. Foreign object debris damaged those tiles. The ones that are white and black. And that one is damaged as well, just a little bit from landing. So SpaceX has some stuff to understand here, and that's part of it. Part of this is, you know, they got the booster back in one piece, so now instead of trying to sift through a crashed booster that had broken tiles, they can just look at the broken tiles and figure out why that happened. It looks like it only lost some of the tiles that were testing how weak a connection they can get away with. Yeah, maybe. None fell off during flight. Interesting. View from Stargate. Let me see. That's cool, man. The video of the crowd watching is unreal. It's cool to get hype about this stuff, man. It's very interesting. So we got another picture from RGV here. At Starbase, Texas, even the drones have a landing pad. This one is called Another Fine Product from the Nonsense Factory. That's on the viewing stand at the Prancing Pony restaurant thing. How big is the Lego Discovery? 2 feet long? 3 feet long? Something like that? No, 2 feet. 2 feet long. Did you cover explain the China stage that's coming back down? It's on an uncontrolled descent. It'll come down on the 9th. No, I don't know where it's coming down. It's not acceptable either. So interesting thing from RGV, that the tag survived. This is the nose cone for SN15. Or is it? I have that teed up, Boris. Yeah, 619. The only reason I was very candid about it is because I've explained it a couple of times already, so I don't need to do it again. Well, we figured out where SN13's nose ended up. SN12's nose cone is the one that's inside of the nose cone jail, and it looks like they took 13 because SpaceX didn't change any designs in the nose cone. Apparently, they took 13's nose cone and put it on 15. Can you imagine? This tape and this piece of paper have been to 40,000 feet and then back down? That's, I mean, that painter's tape, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no completion date. I guess it must have been completed then. So what happened to 13? They scrapped it, Phase Master, because it was the old plumbing design. Interesting. And here's another picture coming from Jack. I think this is from one of his remote camera. Oh my goodness. I gotta move my head out of the way. Jack, oh my goodness. Well, that's a thing. That's a shot that exists. Link? Sure, yeah. Jack is a writer for NASA, or a photographer for NASA spaceflight, obviously. I just cover a lot of NSF stuff from here, but holy crap. Another thing to note is that SN15 launched with the wings slightly up. They weren't straight on like the last Starships. That's right, Cornbread. Look at that, man. Yeah, the new Raptors looked a lot better. Another thing is that the Raptors are actually 180 degrees. The revised thrust puck that SN15 has, so that's the engine mounts. SpaceX changed the engine mounts, and the engines are actually 180 degrees. So instead of like the methane turbine assembly, all of the methane pump assemblies are pointed in, they're now pointed out. So the engine views that we had from SpaceX's cast showed a very different view, which is cool. I don't know, V-Money. Elon's been in shows before, but one of the tiles on the leeward side is damaged as well. Yeah, okay. So this is Mary's picture here. I mean, I know I always say, look at the pickup trucks, right? But look at the truck comparatively to this thing, man. Like, if you're in the States, you know that that's a quad cab long bed. That truck is not small. That's not a small vehicle. This is from Nomad? Right on. Yeah, Jaka, you can always tell. I'll say that until I'm blue in the face. You can tell if a rocket engine is malfunctioning because of how the plume looks. If the plume is nice and uninterrupted and very, very clean and very pronounced, very crisp, yeah, that means the rocket engine is nice and healthy. Keep in mind that some rocket engines will have like sparks coming out of the plume, just because some of that depends on how your injector, like how you deliver the fuel, your fuel delivery mechanism. But you got to look at the plume. Some will spark, but looking at the shape of the plume is always the way to tell. The fully extended lift only reaches the bottom of the top fin, right? The fully extended lift only reaches the bottom. No. This JLG Ultra Boom can go all the way up to the top. I'm still trying to picture the interior of the rocket. It's about 1,000 cubic meters, J Tacos. Apologies if this has already been covered, but did they mean to only start 2 engines? We're not sure, Arcsign. John said they were going to fire 3, and they only fired 2, and it kind of wiggled almost off the landing site. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that Raptor didn't fire, but it wasn't because the Raptor engine malfunctioned. Like it didn't try to relate like a previous Raptor and then, like go lean out or anything. It looks like the computer didn't even bother to fire it and already compensated with the other 2 engines. They didn't even attempt ignition with it for whatever reason. The real unsung hero is the software engine out capability. Yeah. Yeah, those are amazing pictures. Amazing pictures, Thomas. It's ridiculous. Like I said, look at the thing next to the truck. And you know what the crazy thing is? Starship with Super Heavy could put like 40 of these into space. As many as you can fit in basically from here all the way up to about here is the payload bay. See where these trapezoids are? 1, 2, and 3? From there to about here is the payload bay. It's gigantic. The payload bay is huge. GS, as many as you could fit in that area, it could put into space. There's no way that, a bunch of these things will ever equate out to like 100 tons. Starship is minimal rating to low Earth orbit is 100 tons. Which is crazy. I don't know how many, that's a 3500 HD. It's a Chevy, I think. Either way, it's a heavy duty American pickup truck. Those things aren't exactly light, but oh no, it's a Dodge, I think. Yeah, that's a Ram. That's a Ram, a Ram heavy duty. There's no way you could get 100 tons of truck in there. There's no way. Yeah, you'd need a bigger fairing. Oh man, that would be cool, Vulcan. I don't think we're ever gonna name another spacecraft Challenger though. I would want to, but I wonder how the belly flop flying in the flip would work with payload on it. Well, Jake, that's what the RCS with the control surfaces and the Raptor's firing is for. I'm pretty sure that they don't need to use all 3 of those to flip the thing over, but I think Starship is going to need to have down mass capability. So if you have an extra weight up here, first of all, you have the header tank to balance the design, but all 3 of those providing the engines, the RCS, and the wings providing a fulcrum on the vehicle is enough to move it with payload mass in here. But that's just a guess. I don't know for sure. Edgar, can you show what you mean about redefined Raptor configurations? Thomas, can you link up the comparison, please? It's crazy. Crazy picture coming from Nomad. And then the last bit of news that I have here is coming from Jonathan McDowell. He's an astronomer at the Center for Astrophysics. And he's the guy he's been doing a lot of tracks on the Long March 5 stage as well. New space track TIP update. Entry predicted between 13:30 UTC May 8th and 19:30 UTC May 9th. So the window is starting to narrow slightly. Okay, so that's Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully here's the thrust puck change, guys. Yeah. So the Raptors are, dead crew, the Raptors are in different directions. See how the methane pumps are on the inside here? And yeah, see this graphic from I think Raphael did this. The methane pumps are actually on the outside. They're flipped 180 degrees. The graphic doesn't demonstrate it, but the plumbing does. See how the methane lines are on the outside here? Yeah, pretty crazy. All right, and then last thing for space news today is this. We're going to move into KSP now. Last bit here for space news is, and I'm getting the joystick for KSP before we go out and do this. Here. So many wires. Too many wires. Wires everywhere. Wiring everywhere. Nice segue. Last bit of space news here is an update for KSP. Check this out. The 1.12 update is on the horizon here. Let's see what we got. No problem, Monica. Well, those new textures are nice. Oh, shut up, twitching. Pretty good, huh? So that's the first thing. I'll be honest, this is the first time I've heard about the 1.12 update. And usually when we see a teaser like this, there's another couple of them should be coming along here in the coming weeks. And then the update should release. They usually tease us a couple of weeks before and then release the patch, so. Alright, so on that note, we will move over into KSP. We gotta figure out what's going on with mission mode. Alright. So we are forging, nice, forging a new pathway for the space program. This is mission mode part 137.